Claire, Nina Edward Anchor, and Kathy Buxton, for various reasons, could not be present tonight. So tonight we have on my right Susan Stevenson, who I would also like to publicly thank for chairing the meeting last meeting in my absence, and John, former full-time board member and now alternate board member John Gregory. That we have 3 people in attendance constitutes a quorum, so I'm going to motion to open the March 10th meeting of the Southampton Village Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Also with us tonight are Planning Director Alex Wallach, Alice Cooley, our attorney and counsel, and Sage Certain, our videographer for tonight's proceedings. Just for the record, the next meeting will be 2 weeks from tonight on March 24th. The first thing on the agenda is minutes approval, but I'm going to suspend that until next meeting since we don't have quorum to actually vote on meetings for people who are present. Which brings me next on the agenda to adjournment requests. We have a adjournment request for 321 North Sea Road, LLC. It doesn't have a date, but I'm going to motion to adjourn 321 North Sea Road until
I believe I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the page 3 where it says applicant requests an adjournment to April 14th, 2025.
Am I missing it? Hang on.
What? Where? Page 3?
Oh, okay. It's not an adjournment request. Okay. Oh, they're asking adjournment till, you're right, till April 14th. So I'm going to motion to approve the adjournment request for 321 North Sea Road to April 14th. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Before we do signed meetings tonight, the other thing that's on adjournment is the adjournment of the landmark designation proceedings. I'm going to move that to the top of the agenda. And before we go into that, a little background. This has been a long proceeding, but as many of you know, the board put forward the possible landmarking of 4 projects. In November, we heard a lot of testimony. I'm going to start by reading into the record. Did you read in this letter into the record last week?
No.
The one I sent? Great. I'm going to start by reading this letter into the record, because the truth is there were about 4 to 6 hours of testimony, and the board heard that testimony. And I think it has given us much to think about. So the question is, what is the right way forward? So I'm going to read in testimony the letter that was sent to the 4 separate applicants. Dear homeowner, the purpose of this letter is to provide an update from the Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation regarding considerations surrounding landmark status for your home. As a certified local government of the state of New York, one of the charges of the Southampton Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation is to review and inventory structures located within our village and recommend for preservation those that are of unusual provenance and/or works that represent seminal projects from architects that define a style or have made a significant contribution to a movement or the ongoing local history of Southampton. The goal is to avoid erosion of structures that possess historic or cultural importance. In April 1923, as part of the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation granted fund review of the historic districts, a recommendation was made to the board to also be mindful of the modernist structures and structures in the village. As an affluent summer community, Southampton is fortunate to have a significant number of important, more recent, often published modernist properties. It was suggested that the board conduct a study to review the Southampton inventory and consider honoring those modernist structures and preserve them through the landmarking process, as several important buildings are located outside a historic district. In 2023, at the request of the ARB, the Village Building Department commissioned architect preservationist from Columbia University adjunct professor Kate Regov, AIA, to do an initial assessment from which a list of modernist houses, from which 5 were cited as particularly exemplary and largely intact examples of the period. The report was delivered to the board in January 19th of 2024. In early 24, the board proposed reviewing the recommendation structures for considerations as landmarks. As the owners of the structures were notified and a significant amount of time given for initial response, the initial public meeting for those properties under consideration was held in spring of 2024. The attorneys representing the owners of homes under consideration asked for time to review and prepare a response, which was delivered in a special board meeting on November 18th, 2024. It should be noted that much of what was presented by attorneys and consultants for the homeowners was the result of having access to the properties and materials, which access was vehemently denied to the board by the homeowners' attorneys. A partial result of this special meeting was that the board was repeatedly chastised by the homeowners' respective attorneys for what the board could not see on properties for which it was denied access. From the 6 hours of combined rebuttal testimony, there are some statements with which the board disagrees and others the board feels rightly deserve further inquiry and research. In that spirit, the board has requested that the village fund a second, more detailed modernist reports from which to guide its determinations. To fund that report, the building department is working with the Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation to seek grant funding to offset costs. From an updated report, we anticipate that some of the rebuttal claims from which the homeowners' attorneys and consultants may be corroborated, and other points from the original analysis requested by the board may be upheld, at which time the board will review the findings and determine its way forward. The process of identifying experts, applying for and receiving grant funding, and finally conducting the inspections and report preparation is lengthy. Therefore, the board has determined that the best course of action for both the board and homeowners is to adjourn this application until September 22nd, 2025, in order to make more fully informed decisions based on the additional information. In fact, a lot of what was put in front of this board was compelling. Some of the testimony has to do with visible alterations, some has to do with structural material which would need to be inspected. And all four homeowners have been moving in consort together in sort of the process. We as a board fully do expect that certain houses, most notably 380 Barron's, probably will be corroborated by what we learn. But we also feel that it's in the best interest of the village not to make our decisions solely based on probably biased testimony from the attorney's side, solely on that. We feel the right thing to do because the biggest complaint that they had was the way the original survey was done by the village. Therefore, to be fair, it feels the best way to move forward is to conduct another survey looking at modernist houses, not just these houses, but modernist houses in Southampton Village, for which these will certainly be included given their time period. Take that report in and then make a final determination. So for that reason, it's the recommendation of this board to adjourn. We had originally thought about an earlier time period, but as we all know, getting the reports done, we'll probably get it sometime in July or early August would be my estimate, but we all know in August people don't tend to be here, and therefore it made sense to move it out to September. And that's why we're looking at this adjournment, and that's why, and that reasoning which was told to the homeowners is the reason why we're looking at what the process has been to date. So I need a motion. Do I need to? Are there any comments from the public?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I think this was put down for discussion today, Mr. Chairman. You weren't here last time, but I did review the minutes and the videotape of our last session.
Okay.
One thing that you mentioned was specifically the Barron's Lane property that's before you. When you used the word corroborated, I'm a little unclear. Are you saying that what was submitted may be corroborated by your board?
No,
in that?
By an additional.
I didn't understand that statement.
Okay.
I would just need a little clarity on that, sir.
Sure. Based on the visual changes at that house, in particular if we look at the skylights that were removed and the visual changes that you presented, I suspect that the next survey expert that we hire will also, if they're able to see those changes, will probably agree with you that enough changes have been made to that house. But we need that from what I would call a disinterested third party, a hired consultant to come in and tell us that. So for our record, we're making our decisions from not just your consultant, but also a third party consultant to corroborate that.
Okay.
Is what that meant, sir.
I happen to represent 1880 Meadow Lane, Waterview, LLC. And when we reviewed your letter pretty thoroughly, and we had a couple of conferences with the other attorneys, one of the issues arose that we brought to the board's attention from the outset of these proceedings. There was wording in the letter to the effect that someone had suggested, someone had recommended, and someone had requested that your board undertake this landmark initiative. But the letter's silent as to who, what, and when that happened. It's still very unclear to us how this all, and I see one of the board members is very dismissive of that question, but it is a very important question.
I'm going to ask that you be civil. And you be civil in the conversation and no comments toward the board members. Please go ahead.
Okay, but I have to react to
No, you don't.
the body
You
language.
You don't have to react.
It
So
happens consistently during these
we
hearings.
sat through 4 hours of
Okay.
reaction. I'm going to ask
Yeah.
you to
And
just
it's very
address
distracting,
me. Ask
and,
me.
and it's very meaningful to the people sitting in this audience that are observing your board, sir. In any event, We note that you mentioned a request, a suggestion
Mhm.
of some third party. We do not know who that is. We don't know how this all started. It just appeared on the agenda, I believe the first time in August 2023, when you adopted a resolution to hire Kate Regev in the first instance. We knew nothing about this. The first indication we had that you were going forward with this initiative was, it was a year ago from the date of your letter on February 21st of this year, when we first received the letter that you were going to conduct these hearings. After a year of hearings, we're now told that apparently my clients, and none of the others apparently, can be landmarked as of today, because you have to undertake another study. A study, by the way.
Let me tell you that we're choosing to take another study
Okay,
because
so
we
you're choosing.
we listened very carefully.
Okay.
You presented 4 hours. You gave us a stack of papers tall as my house. We listened very carefully, and we went through it. And what we're trying to do is the right thing to take the right action forward. We're not making a decision based solely on our survey.
Okay.
We are trying to address what your biggest concern was. And I will tell you, to you and the other attorneys, you may tell me that it's been a year, but the reason it took so long is you guys asked for it. When we did the original presentation, you asked for a long period of time in which to put together your rebuttal argument. We didn't set that time frame. The attorneys for the 4 properties got together and came and recommended to the village and asked the village to postpone the property to give you ample time. So I feel like what we're doing is the same thing. We just want to take the same ample time. And the 4 attorneys have been clear that none of these houses are in danger of being torn down. Our intent is to honor them as exemplary examples. You've made it clear to us that none of these houses are in danger of being torn down. None of these houses are in danger of any way of being sold. So by keeping the record open, I think, and keeping your record intact and letting us move and get the rest of the information before we close the public hearing is probably the most fair and most fair at this point way to the homeowner. And we honestly think we're being fair, doing it the right way to where we have the information that we feel we need. We feel that's the right thing to do.
Let me make it very clear that my homeowner, and I'm not going to speak for the other 3, but I gleaned from my conversations with them, okay, that they find this very unfair. Why is that? Your code, I'm sure you're aware, provides that as soon as that notice went out back in February of 2024, no building permits, no demolition permits whatsoever may be issued for these properties. So if the houses are not being torn down, if they're not being renovated, if they're not being, if a building permit's not being applied for, one of the reasons clearly is because there is a prohibition in your code against the issuance of any permit during this period, and it's 1 year.
I'm only echoing what you told me in 4 hours of testimony. You were the people that stood up at that mic and said, why are you doing this? None of these houses are going into renovation, none are in danger of being sold, and none are being so. That comment is not coming from the board. That's coming from the testimony that you gave us.
And that was in the context of what was the motivation for this initiative in the first instance. That was one of maybe 20 points that were made at that hearing, okay? But in any event, our request today is that instead of adjourning this for another 7 months, 8 months possibly, that it be discontinued at this time. Do your study, and we'll come back when you do the study. In the meantime, we'd like to move on. We've been locked up for a year. Again, there's a prohibition in place. We cannot even apply for a permit at this point. And we're going to be locked up for another 7 to 8 months. I just want the board to be aware of the ramifications of that. It's essentially, as I said in my correspondence, a de facto moratorium without any action on behalf of your legislative body, the village. Typically, if there's a moratorium because of a landmark initiative or an historic designation initiative, it's usually done as part of a revamping and a mapping of your historic district. It's been done in other cases. In this case, what you're doing is based on a 9-page report of Kate Regev. You've locked our properties up now for possibly 18 months, and we don't think that's fair. We don't think that's fair. One other point.
I hear you.
One other point I have to make is that you indicate in your letter that we somehow prevented you from entering on the property. My client never got a request to enter on their property.
I believe that if you watch the tape,
I
In the
know there
meeting in
was
the
a comment
spring,
made
We
by
said, and I suggested to the board members that, to be fair, we should go and onto those properties and personally look at them. And the attorneys in the room said, that is not going to happen. So, and that's on tape. So, did we send you a letter? We probably didn't, because the vehement response we received in the room that night, because I literally had suggested that, and had the board members been able to go onto the properties, they might have seen what's in you, especially your report.
And would that
But
be
there
for
was
the
a very-
purpose of
but there
going
was-
inside?
We weren't even allowed on the properties.
No, my question is, did you want to go inside the house,
It didn't-
or did you want to walk
That's
around the
immaterial at
house?
this point. That's immaterial, because when I brought it up, you guys vehemently
No,
said that
no,
is
it's-
not going to happen.
I'm going to
and
review the
therefore-
record again, and I'll
Please do.
correspond
Please
with
do.
you on that point.
In the meantime, I still think, in the discussions we've had, we feel the best way forward for where we are right now is to adjourn this to September 22nd.
And I just
I
want to make
will
it
tell
clear.
you that if we find that the report comes in quicker, we will reach out and see if we can move that date up, if it's possible. I would rather be in a position where I'm moving the date up than having you guys come in time after time to move something forward, because we don't have the information.
Are we going to be able to participate, and we're going to be informed with respect to the progress of this study?
You will, and as soon as we have determined who will be doing the study, you will be notified who that is.
Okay.
We will be
Um,
fair.
I just want to make it clear for the record that our demand at this point is that this be withdrawn as against 1880
Yes,
Meadow Lane for
I've
all
heard- we've
purposes at
heard
this
you.
time. And I
We've heard
appreciate your time tonight.
of course, thank you.
Would you just state your name for the record for when we
Michael
do
G.
the...
Walsh, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York, for Waterview LLC.
Thanks so
Great,
much.
thank you. Is there any other comment?
I think there are two people on Zoom, John Bennett and Anthony Pasca, I believe.
Okay.
Hello,
Hello, Mr. Bennett. Please state your name for the record.
my name is John Bennett, Bennett Reed, 212 Windmill Lane. In the hearing also is Bailey Larkin, my associate. So there are some fairly concerning things that have been said tonight. And as I said in both of my letters, one of the most recent one and the one from the last meeting, we demand an action. We demand that this board take an action. As you're aware, your statute requires that there be a determination within 62 days of the close of the hearing. We've been at this for 18 months. The suggestion that the bulk of the delay has been on our side has really delayed by the actual chronology. So I'll let that speak for itself. But if you had read the case law that I submitted for your consideration, it's clear to me that you do not have what you need to landmark these properties at this point. I mean, this lengthy adjournment speaks for itself. You can take judicial notice of that fact. You are admitting that you don't have the what's necessary to landmark these properties. However you try to slice or dice it, that's what you're admitting. Which means that you can't delay things, and that's the law of the state of New York. You can't delay things until you change the rules of the game. That's not permitted. That's the Coit case, which I cited to you. It's also a case that, and that's a Court of Appeals case. It's also a case that I litigated in Shelter Island, where the same thing, the town board over there tried to do the same thing. They tried to delay things until, and it was a very similar time period in terms of delay. They tried to delay things until essentially they changed the rule of the game. And Judge Hackling in the Supreme Court, state of Suffolk County, said that was a denial of our due process rights under not only the New York State Constitution, but the federal Constitution. Now, you have a very able counsel, and the only conclusion that I can come to, this doesn't need a response, but the only conclusion that I can come to is you're simply not listening to her. Because what you're doing throughout this proceeding, you have hired, you hired a consultant that liaised with a group that has now become an advocate, that it appears that your planning director had met with. In other words, 20th Century Modern has liaised with Kate Regev, and indeed Kate admitted that she reached out to 20th Century Modern to winnow down these houses. We still don't know how that came about. That's in direct contradiction of what Judge Modilewski told you that, in the Bliss case. Then quite what I can only describe is sort of
John,
a
I'm giving you
service
2 more
degree.
minutes.
Okay, you had a board member, a former board member who took part in the deliberations, and stated that he thought, which is contrary to what your actions prove now, that you're gonna landmark these houses, you had enough to do that. And then, strange enough, jumped over to the other side and became an advocate, again, clearly in violation of what Judge Modilewski told you to do. So you're at a point right now where it's become so toxic as a result of the infiltration of advocates in what is supposed to be an objective process, that really, and the delay inherent in this, that really your only fair, reasonable, and legal action you can take right now is an action, and to deny, based upon the current record that you have before you, your own motion to landmark these properties, and I would demand that you do it.
Okay, thank you. Alice, do you-
One last thing. One last thing. Yeah, I did say, yes, you're not getting into the houses because you have no jurisdiction. And the whole idea of it is, as you know, it's what you can see from the outside, and every one of these
Can you do
houses.
that?
the-
That's not
the-
true.
the inside- Let me finish, please, don't cut me off. Is
I'm about
clear side and the ocean front, so there's no, of course I denied, as I would.
Okay,
There's no new
thank you.
houses.
Alice, do you want to speak to any of that? Okay. In our conversations with our attorney and the village, it's been determined that we feel this is the right way forward for these homeowners in this situation. Is there anybody else? Because we're going to move on. Okay, so I'm going to, are you speaking? Okay, I'm going to, if you'd state your name for the record, please.
My name is Brian Dilemma, attorney at the law firm Greenberg Trotter. I represent Joseph Edelman. He's the owner of 380 Barron's Lane. We objected to this adjournment request on February 24th when the board convened. We wanted to respond to your letter, Mr. Chairman. The letter of February 21st that you read into the record tonight purported to adjourn this application on the board's behalf and on the homeowner's behalf. But the process here is adversarial. We never agreed to it. We're not agreeing to it now. The adjournment's stated purpose was to provide this board with time to identify and obtain funding for a new expert, and two, for that expert to have the time to prepare a second, more detailed modernist report. This was your application. When your expert was impeached by the lawyers who appeared here.
Well, we don't necessarily agree with that.
Okay.
We heard you that you had issues with some of the comments, but we don't agree that our consultant was impeached.
If that were
But we
accurate, there
feel
would be
like-
no
but we
reason for
feel
you to
like-
hire
but
a new
we
expert.
feel like, well, no, I think we heard you. And you took issue, we didn't take issue with our expert, you did. So since you guys took issue, we felt like the right course of action was to step back in, get more information, make sure we're fully understanding, and we have the right information on our side from not just your consultants, but consultants that are hired on behalf of the village. So it is not fair to say that we felt it was impeached, and it's not fair to say that what my sentence says is the board has determined that the best course of action for the board and the homeowners.
Yeah.
It didn't say that I was adjourning it on their behalf. So let's be clear.
Yeah, well, for the board to make a determination outside the public's view suggests that the board as a whole agrees with that, had a meeting, made a determination. Those things are supposed to happen at public hearings so that we, the homeowners, can understand what the views of each individual board member is, and so that the chair
through a letter can't chill other board members. Perhaps, and we don't know, another board member may disagree with you, may have a question, may say, I don't agree with that. That's what Mr. Walsh was talking about. That's what I'm referring to. But if this were a...
3 more minutes.
Okay, if we were in court and a witness is impeached, no one gets to adjourn things for 6 months to go hire another
Well,
witness.
I disagree
That
with you. The
violates...
witness was
you do?
impeached. I've
Okay.
already disagreed with
Well,
that, so go ahead.
If she did a good job, you would have relied on her report. You wouldn't need a second expert, okay? So the letter concedes that. The suggestion that any of us prevented you from gaining access to the property is completely belied by the record. On April 8th, you indicated that you wanted to get onto the properties. Mr. Bennett said what he said, and that's fine. I got up and objected to having Mr. Wallach contact my client directly. A colloquy was had on the record with Ms. Cooley, and I said, if Ms. Cooley wants to contact me to get onto the property, she can do that. But what you're missing is it was your burden in the first place to contact the homeowners and gain access to the properties by virtue of you telling the town board, or the village board, that you were following the national guidelines and the state guidelines. It was your burden to do that before the process began. So when you failed to do that, you can understand the homeowners feeling ambushed and saying, well, now I'm not going to cooperate with you because you had a predetermined report that you adopted in full on March 11th. And then when you missed that critical step, you came back and said, help me out. I need to correct that. That was the objection.
We also disagree with that timeline.
Okay,
And
well,
you have
we
one
can-
more, you have 1 more minute.
Okay. Mike, can you turn to the... I'm a little confused why we're being limited in time.
Because this is a hearing for an adjournment. This is not retrying the 4 hours
Well,
of testimony you've already put into record.
I
That's
just
why,
want to...
sir.
Mr.
And
Bennett made reference...
There are other people here who have business to do tonight, so I'm giving you 1 more minute.
Mr. Bennett made reference to Tim Godbold, and H2M's founder and CEO, and said that they became an advocacy group that was involved in this process. In response to an email from my client's interior designer, Mr. Godbold on December 2nd, 2024, responded as following. He said, "Hi, Wesley. There was never any intention of using these photos, which were taken of my client's home, to some way to landmark these buildings. In fact, I didn't know anything about these landmarks until much later, when Susan Horowitz, who works for the organization, said that she had been approached by Southampton Council, meaning this board, to assist it in accumulating documentation. First thing I did was call George Smart, charge of U.S. Modernist, and he told me to stay out of this. I also called Jim, the house manager, who works for Mr. Edelman, prior to all of this, to warn him that this was coming down the pipeline, but he never returned my call. I fully understand that your clients are upset. If you wish me to speak to them and explain that you have nothing to do with this, I am more than happy to. Obviously, my goal is to work with homeowners with these houses. I need Southampton and U.S. Modernists to be aware that doing things like this isn't going to give me any access to any of these houses, and I will end up with a bad reputation. The house has been slated for the Rizzoli book. I will contact them and tell them to remove your client's house. You do not have to tell me how badly Southampton Council went about this whole endeavor. I have emails to them asking them why they didn't think to include them prior to sending them a letter in the mail, which is complete ridiculousness. Of course, I want to make it up to you and your client, and I'd be more than happy to jump on a call, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Okay, you're very glib about it.
I'm not glib at
But
all,
he's
sir. I am
indicating-
listening to you, and
They're
but-
saying
again,
counsel, I just want to say that's not me, because I didn't do that.
No, it's not an
and
attorney,
I'm
it's
also going to tell
referencing...
you also, we're going back to the civility here. You're either going to speak polite at this board or not at all. We went through your 4 hours of being berated already, so you're going to speak politely and professionally at this board or not at all.
I think
Are we clear?
we're on Zoom. The record's going to reflect how you're being spoken to. This email, again, indicates that there were emails back and forth between this board, your consultants, and Hampton's 20th Century Modern. We've requested them. We never got them. We have no idea who reached out to Susan Horowitz and when and
Okay,
how.
I have given you 3 minutes, and your 3 minutes are up.
Okay, we'll provide written documentation as to our arguments. We object to this adjournment. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Okay. So, we hear you. In dealing with our attorneys and the village attorneys, the recommendation is the best way forward for the village is to adjourn this and do a report and get more information in before a final determination is made. Therefore, I'm going to motion to adjourn the landmark designation properties at 1820 Meadow Lane, 1360 Meadow Lane, 380 Barrens, and 1880 Meadow Lane to September 22nd. Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
Okay, so then that does not pass.
So we have not adjourned it, so we have to do what now?
I don't know. Well, what do you want to do, Susan?
I'd like to withdraw these applications until we get the information and start over.
Okay.
I think it's just gotten to be so abusive, and really, the accusations are so incredible to me. And I don't feel actually safe doing this at this point. And I also think we can still go forward once we have another study. The notion that we shouldn't have another study is to me ludicrous, and I believe that we need it. And I also believe that in other communities that modern houses, like maybe not still standing, like in Pasadena, the Gamble bungalows, it's a noble enterprise to preserve what happened in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. There's nothing wrong with that. To be accused that there is something wrong with it, I find weird. We are the architectural board here. We want to preserve our village and keep it interesting, not have just a bunch of developments. But I do feel that it's become a muddy situation, and I'd just like to stop and start over. So that's why I voted no. I realize it's awkward, but I don't feel good about it.
Well, I appreciate the discussion. Okay.
Obviously, we didn't collude and discuss this before. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so,
I don't know what to say.
I know in other cases where there was no action by the board, it's carried over automatically to the next meeting.
yeah, I know, I just,
It's
I don't
it's
think
weird
that's
because
a
we don't
good
go.
thing here. I don't think that's a good thing. I'd like to avoid that. I'd like to avoid having this go on at every single meeting.
So what are the options, Counselor?
Well, is there something that the board could have a consensus on any of these? I mean, they don't have to move in lockstep.
John, you're new to this. What's your opinion? You were here when we started this, I think.
Yeah, I was on the board when this all began. Yeah, I agree that a second study is necessary at this point because there was such opposition by the homeowners of the,
Original.
consultant that we
Yeah.
hired, the village hired, the board hired previously.
The
So
primary objective being the amount of money spent on the study.
Is that correct?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's correct.
Personally, I felt their historic consultants, I wasn't really, had some points, but they were comparing corporate buildings to historic.
Well, that's just it.
A small,
Let's keep things in perspective. Of course, they're going to have their experts completely support their
Well,
argument.
but that doesn't.
That's why I think we need a deeper dive.
Absolutely.
Can I speak, please?
Go ahead, finish.
No, I agree that we need a second round of investigation on these properties. And we need the ample time to find the right person, the right group to do this.
We're doing it again in recognition that the applicants took some issue with some of the initial report.
Well,
Therefore, we feel like more materials. Let me ask you this, Counselor. So if the vote doesn't pass tonight, then we just start we do the survey and start the process again?
No, I mean, these would still be open unless you withdrew them or unless you closed the records and made decisions on these. You know, if you close these records, you would have to make decisions within 62 days.
And we won't have the information to do that.
If you withdrew them, you could possibly restart them. Those are your options as I see it. You know, if you do nothing, then these are back on for the next meeting.
Well, and sadly, then what I'm going to suggest is we're going to do nothing then and put it on, because we don't have a full board tonight. So I feel like that's also a little unfair.
There's none of these you can close the record on?
We don't have the information. Isn't that the problem?
That defeats the purpose of what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Disagree.
Because the applicants have chosen to move in lockstep together, I feel like it's to parse them out at this point is not appropriate. Therefore,
They're separate landmarks, they're separate houses. And I think that there is a fulsome record on one of these. One. But that's your decision.
so the decision would be to go house by house. Do you want me to go house by house?
I mean, it's up to you, I'm just saying.
No, I don't think that's right. I think we have two choices here. We either have to move this to the next meeting, which is what I think we have to do, till we have a full board.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the date of that meeting, Mr. Chairman?
It's the 22nd.
24.
24th.
March 24th.
Okay. And that's what we'll do.
Are you gonna adjourn, or are you just gonna let it hang out there?
Well, okay. So I'm going to motion to adjourn 1820 Meadow Lane, 1836 Meadow Lane, 380 Barrens, and 1880 Meadow Lane until March 22nd. Is there a second?
March
Second.
24.
March 24th. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's what we'll do then. Okay. Now, moving on then. So the first thing are sign requests. We have several. Will you be the... Alex, can I ask you to put these on the table?
Certainly. Which one are you starting with?
In order, we're starting with
15 Main Street.
DeVito and Company.
Yeah, 15 Main Street.
I think you should have updated drawings for that in there,
We do.
right? And the applicant may be-
Is anyone here for DeVito?
I am.
Okay.
Okay.
You're sideways. Could you state your name for
There
the
you go.
record, please?
Yes,
Oh,
Ron
it's-
Fisher
oh.
for the applicant.
Okay. If you could put those up. So you want to take us through the suggestion?
Sure. So at the last meeting, the board was unhappy with the signage, so I went back to the applicant, and this is what he's proposing now. It matches to only identify one business, and he's changed it to different placement to use what area looked like it was more appropriate for a sign.
Well,
That's done there. If we could get that up on the cameras for us.
This was not my bad.
But the actual name of the business is DeVito and Company, correct?
Correct. To my knowledge, that's correct.
Because in the application, it's DeVito and Company. Board members' thoughts? Susan, this was in your meeting last week, right?
yes, and I walked around and looked up. I still think that's really big. There's another store underneath, Paul Stewart, which for some reason we can't see any sign. And then DeVito's, I think the sign above the door for DeVito to the second floor is fine, but that, it just seems like the letters are so big on this, and misleading in a funny way to me, but.
Oh, I agree.
Oh,
I have issue with signage on second stories of pretty much all the buildings in the village. It's not a storefront, it's an office above the storefront, correct?
correct.
Correct.
So I have to take a hard look at the signage requirements, but in this case, it would be some type of identification next to the door of who is in the building, but not blaring signs across the building about who's in the building. There's a few things on, so I don't think it's appropriate any way you look at it.
I mean, they are legal, and there are lots on the road on second stories. This area has had signage before that was approved by the village, and I think this applicant wants the same courtesy.
Can you tell me an example where the sign is above the windows, above the second floor?
Yeah, this board just approved it across the street from Verano at 1 Windmill Lane for Roman Sanford. That's above the second story windows, and we got that 2 months ago from the same board, and
That's
same
right.
letter color too. It's just black on a white background. Your feedback at the time was to make it matte, which we've applied that same feedback to this building in these letters.
I guess the two objections I would have is the name of the business is DeVito and Company, and neither of the signs define that. And the way this is located in its size and scale on this particular building, make it look like it's the name of the building and not the name of a business.
So if we added "and co" and kept it the same width, which would take the signage, the letters down smaller, would there be consensus to allow that? Because I'm pretty confident that the applicant wants it in that spot, because that's where his office is. And then at the ground level, it lets people know how to access it through the door.
But in the last application, it was between the two windows.
Correct, and nobody liked that.
Okay.
'Cause it
That
didn't-
was one of the consensus,
Right.
was that no one liked it there.
All right, so
There are other
signage doesn't say
signs high up, but it's not a particularly wide building.
that
It
just
just
is the name of
seems-
the building. It doesn't seem to
right.
define a business.
My point is that the sign regulations, as I remember, say nothing about signs on second floors of any commercial building in the village. It's about
Therefore,
storefronts.
there's no rule.
Well,
And that's the
Right.
problem, yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
walk around, I've looked.
All right, so I think what
I think
you're
it's
hearing is
too big.
the major complaints are it's not the name, the sign is too big, and if the name of the company is DeVito and Company, it should say DeVito and Company.
At the last meeting, the attorney said that you can't really ask them to change the name on the sign. I'm curious if that still holds up now, Alice?
Yes.
it's too big from my perspective.
Then the
It's-
question still just comes down to scale then.
It's too tall, and it should be definitely between the two windows, no bigger than that.
Can I get conditional approval on that from this board,
No.
or are there?
No,
No.
what you'd need to do is
It's-
redesign it and send it back in, and the signage committee will look at it. And if the signage committee approves, it'll be approved, and if not, it'll come back to the next meeting.
I know one of the alternatives we had discussed was a window sign. Is that something that was discussed with the client, or does the board have any thoughts on that? As opposed to a window sign as
window
opposed
sign.
to a wall sign?
On the first floor?
No, on the second floor.
I'd rather see that than
I'd rather
something
see that.
plastered all over the building, yeah.
The client wasn't interested in putting it on the window. He wanted to make use of the space that had previously been used for signage and proposed something that met code. The letters aren't more than 12 inches tall, and they don't take up more than what he's allowed it in width.
Okay.
So I will get back to him. Is the consensus that if it fits between the windows, it's likely to get approved?
I think that the letters are too spread apart and they're too big, so the letters need to be within the space between those two windows, but not necessarily as big as you're showing them currently.
Maybe.
Any additional feedback that I can use to try to get approval from the sign committee?
No, I think that's probably it. So do you want us to adjourn this to the next meeting? And in the
I'd love you to
meantime,
approve it, but if that's not.
I don't think you have that. So do you
All
want to adjourn to the next meeting? In the meantime, put a updated version in front of the signage committee and see where we go?
Yes.
Okay.
All
Then
right, thank you.
Okay, then I'm going to motion to accept the application's request for an adjournment for DeVito and Company at 50 Main Street to to March 22nd. Is there
24th.
24th? Is there, I'm going to do that all night long. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up, we have M. Stevens Construction for a construction site.
So,
I believe this applicant may still be working on revisions.
M. Stevens?
Yes.
I hope so.
They did watch the board's discussion at the last meeting.
So they're not here.
But
Okay.
I don't think there's anyone here from them tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to motion at the chair's request that we adjourn the application for M. Stevens Construction to March 24th. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is Roller Rabbit. Is anyone here from Roller Rabbit? So it's an updated logo above the window with a new style of lettering.
Which is the old one?
The old one's on the left and the new one's on the right.
Uh-huh, that is their logo, I believe, on the right.
The Roller Rabbit.
To the right with the filled-in O.
Yeah, it's cool.
And it fills the exact same space as the
It's a
existing
little
sign.
wide. It's wider. The other one sits inside the
Yeah.
columns.
That would be
This
my
one's
only
wider.
suggestion.
My only suggestion is that they brought it down about 15% and made it slightly smaller.
Yeah.
The scale looks big.
Okay.
Are you here for Roller Rabbit?
Yes,
Great. Can you state your name for the record, please?
sure, William McLear, Ocean Graphics.
Howdy. I think you're hearing a consensus from the board that the scale's just a little large. If you could bring it about 15% where it sits inside the columns above the window.
Okay.
That's
Oh, you mean the width?
yeah, the
Yeah.
width. And well, because when you bring it, it'll get smaller. But yeah, the width is a little wide.
Okay, because we have the letter height is about the same.
Yeah, the letter height's the same, but
But
the style
width-
of letters and the
yeah.
kerning between them is spread it out so far that it's actually would look better,
Got it.
more consistent with that part of the
Um,
village if we brought it down.
Okay, so the window is about 78 inches wide, so if we kept it even with the window width, or,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
sort of inside see the two pilasters on either side of the window?
yep,
Yep, it's about the width of the glass itself would be great.
yes.
That's what I'm- that's what I'm hearing.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, if you want to resubmit that, it'll go to the sign committee.
Okay,
Okay.
and will that have to go before the ARB again, or will that just go?
If the sign committee approves it, no. If the sign committee doesn't, it has to come back to the full board.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Great.
So would you like an adjournment?
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
we'll just resubmit that.
Yeah, just
scaled down
resubmit it to the signage committee. Okay,
Perfect.
so
Okay.
I'm going to motion to accept the applicant's request for 53 Jobs Lane Roller Rabbit for an adjournment to March 24th. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have no demo evaluations. We have no, let's start with historic public hearings. The first is 300 North Main Street.
This was renoticed, Mark.
Pardon? Okay. You have,
I have the affidavits.
and they're in order.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Is that,
I'm going
did
to
you,
ask you to sit down and
did you-
get close to a mic or go to the podium.
is that the only thing you put in? Was there any new information put in the
No.
file? Okay.
No,
So right now, this whole conversation is about the stairs and the railing, right?
correct. And what I brought you is really diagrammatical of kind of stuff you've already seen. So Lisa's the logo. I'm an architect, but I'm acting as a consultant. And basically,
What
I
does
was,
what does that mean?
I could talk to you, but I wasn't the architect who designed the house originally.
I know, but are you the architect of the house or just the architect for the porch?
I'm the architect of, I'm the local architect to speak to you about the porch.
Okay.
Unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
Well, my one question is who still is the architect of record?
The same person that was before.
Okay.
So basically, I was asked to look at all of the information that you guys had previously been given. I reviewed the videos of all the meetings. I read through Zach's report. I read through the engineer's report. I read through Courtney Nation's emails, Courtney Nation from New York State, and basically tried to take a look at what I thought the board was looking for with regards to the porch.
Lisa, could you turn that 180 degrees so it's right side up?
Sure.
Thanks.
Can't read it a second. So I happen to agree with you when you made comments that bringing the porch down really close and having only 2 steps, I thought it changed the look of the front elevation quite a bit. I think that
And for the record, you're doing a sister house to this, or a house that looks much like this on Elm currently,
121
because
Elm
that,
Street,
when
correct.
you have on 121 Elm is sort of the same family as this house.
Right, and the railing detail is very similar.
Yeah, it's that same
and-
Chinese Chippendale, yeah. Okay.
So basically, I think the general issue that everyone is struggling with is that the porch has obviously failed over the years. It has, the front leading edge of it has fallen about 8 inches lower than the first floor, the existing first floor of the house. And it's created an unsafe situation, and obviously it needs to be rebuilt, it's failing. So there's basically 2 choices. The porch is at an angle, about a 10% angle. So your choice would be to either raise the front of it or to lower the back of it. Raising the front of it, it's about 24 inches above grade now. And I know you guys have heard testimony of the fact that should you take it up the 8 inches that it would need to go, you then end up with a code problem of having to have the new code compliant guardrail, which is 36 inches high. And again, I think the porch railing that, that there is a little bit left of, that's about 27 or 28 inches high, is much more in keeping with the character of the house. So I sat down and I looked at it, and the drawing that I gave you is kind of my interpretation of how I think that it would best be solved. On the left-hand side is the proposed elevation, and on the right-hand side is the existing west elevation. And the dotted lines that come across show that the relationship to grade of the front line of the porch, which again, I think all of these horizontals and their relationship to each other are very important. So that front line of the porch that you see now would stay exactly where it is. The front leading edge of that porch railing at 28 inches could stay exactly where it is. The relationship between the top of the porch railing and that kind of lattice work that's along the underside of the porch roof, all of those relationships can stay exactly the same. The height above grade of the ridge, of the horizontals, of the roof, porch roof, all of those would stay exactly the same if you, instead of raising the front leading edge of the porch, if you lower the back edge of the porch. And it's 8 inches, and you can see kind of in the middle space here where I show you where that 8 inches is. Now, the only place that you can see this, because 90% of it will be hidden behind this railing, so the only place you can see it is kind of at the door. Other than that, the entire house would look exactly as it looks now.
So you'd essentially be stepping up into the front door.
No. I've taken, if this is the leading edge, I've left that edge where it is,
Mhm.
and I've brought the back of it down 8 inches. The inside of this house, the first floor joist, the majority of them are 2x6s. There's a section of them that's 2x8. They're gonna have to get rebuilt anyway.
No,
So all I've done is lowered the back wall, which you won't see.
on
like,
the back wall, meaning on the house, the actual
Yeah.
structure of the house.
Correct.
So if you're lowering that, if the door is like right here,
Mhm.
it's flush with the floor,
Mhm.
and you're lowering the floor, then there's going to be a gap between the door and the floor, correct?
Well, I've lowered
You've
the
lowered the door.
door as well. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
but
All right.
the objection to this house has not been the railing. The objection to the house has been in a historic house, which happened in another house in the village. This explanation allowed them to take what is currently an 8 or 8.6 first floor ceiling height
Mm.
and raise the ceiling height of the floor.
But-
So if you can explain to me that in doing this is not changing and we are not taking any of the historic framing out between the first and the second floors of this house?
Okay, so if you look again, you'll see where all those lines that I drag across there, the second floor framing is in the
No,
exact
the
same.
f-
Wait,
the first
I know,
one,
I
yeah,
know, I
yeah,
know you're asking me. I know what you're
yeah.
asking me. That second floor relationship is exactly the same place. The windows on the second floor, all of that stuff in relationship to the porch roof, to the railing, to the grade, all that stuff has stayed the same. Yes, the floor of the first floor is lower by 8 inches.
And which means to accommodate that, you have to take all the framing out.
I
Which
don't,
wa-
I could sister studs next to it if that was helpful. They're going to have to take the floor joists, the 2x6 floor joists aren't gonna pass code now anyway, so those are gonna have to be replaced. I could sister next to them if that was, if you wanted the existing wood to stay there. All I'm saying to you is that if in fact you go the other way and you say, okay, I'm gonna keep the floor level where it is,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna raise the front of the porch, that then changes your relationship to grade, right?
Or you change the grade.
Or you
or-
change the grade, but it changes your relationship to grade, and then it forces you, now, once you do that, it forces you to go up and have a higher railing, right? And then
But you're-
that railing, regardless, if you bring all of that up, the relationship between the railing and the porch is gonna get shorter, right? So now you've changed your where the railing is in relationship to that spindle railing that goes across the top, which I think from the street is what you see. I think those relationships, grade, the deck, the railing, the spindles, the porch roof, all of those horizontals and the relationship of that porch roof to those windows, all of those horizontals, I think, are what you see from the street. The level of where that wall is and the fact that I've now leveled the porch is hidden behind the railing for 90% of it anyway. Like, that's not what's gonna be visible from the street. Everything else is gonna look exactly as it looks now. I mean, that's my opinion, that those horizontal lines and the relationship to each other, I think is what makes the house.
Well, and
So
I
that's what
would
I'm
agree. I
trying to
think the important thing is to maintain the existing look of the house from the street.
Right, and this does that.
I would not be in favor of changing the grade because this house kind of sits flat with the street, in fact, down a little bit.
Yeah.
So changing the grade would make it even, it would change the look
Right,
of the
then
street.
again, then from the street,
Yeah.
you've pushed it up again, correct, yeah.
So I think this is an interesting solution.
Susan?
I'm going with Lisa. I mean, at least it is, if it's, I mean, until it's done, of course, you don't know what it's going to really look like, but
Yeah.
looking
Well,
from the
and-
street, because there's not a pure way to do this, because it's,
Right, you're making.
Well,
It's a
it
toss-up.
depends. Wait a minute. This is a historic house.
I agree.
So this is not a new construction. It's a historic house. So by the rules of historic houses, you don't necessarily have to, it's a pre-existing non-conforming historic house.
Well,
So you guys are making the argument that this is a new house, or that you're having a new code, but there's an
No.
argument that says it's a pre-existing non-conforming house. And what happened the last time we went through this is there's a ratio in older houses, there's a ratio between the porch and the bottom sill of the second floor. And when you start lowering and adding a foot to that, it contemporizes that relationship to the street. So this is what I'm just trying to understand to make sure we don't end up in that, because that's what happened.
Right.
And you see it when you see the house. The house doesn't look like a historic, they did a beautiful job, by the way, but it doesn't look like a historic house on South Main Street, just because, and you looked up and suddenly the entire framing for the first floor was missing, and they jacked up the second floor, rebuilt all the framing in a historic house, and I'm making sure that doesn't happen again, at a different height than what was the historic house they bought.
Okay.
So that's what I'm
But
trying
I-
to
I
make
mean,
sure it doesn't
I
happen
agree,
again.
and that's why I'm saying to you that I think that that leading edge of the porch and its relationship to all of those other horizontal lines is what I think is the important part of it.
I would agree.
Okay.
And of the materials, they're all,
They're all, I mean, to match existing, the same scallop shingle, that's all, that second sheet, the second page that I
Mhm.
gave you, still lists all those materials. I didn't have any changes on those or anything. They're all, I believe that you guys have already talked about all those, the staggered shingles, the.
yeah, just like
scallop
Elm
shingles.
Street. I think
Yeah.
they did a fantastic job of matching the existing.
Yeah.
The Elm Street
Shingle
house
work.
looks great.
Yeah, no, those are the same.
So the rest of this house has been approved? It's just the,
No.
no, just the porch
No.
we're looking at right now.
Well, I wasn't
don't
here
know
in
we're
any
actually
of these
approving
meetings. I
anything,
thought
'cause
that you had kind of
Well, I
gotten
mean,
down to
that-
the porch as the last thing, but I
But
don't
the
know.
only thing that's been
No.
before us is the porch right now.
No.
No, the
it
house
was-
has been
whole
before
house
us.
But
was been-
they never come back
Yes.
to finish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how we approve the porch without approving the entire plan.
Well, in this case, it's essentially a restoration of the porch, and that's it, right? There's no connection with the house being rebuilt whatsoever, correct?
No.
Well, that's the only way we can look at it.
For the applicant,
You
David
can
Gilmore.
shed some light here.
Right,
But what-
we've
wait.
I'm sorry.
There were other things, the windows, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the house is
it's
not,
not-
the house is
It's
not
an
approved.
addition.
There's more.
It's on there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there's an addition in the back, and we've
Right.
talked about all of that.
Correct.
And then narrowed it down to the porch, and as Lisa described, how we're going to accommodate the challenges in the New York State building code, which, you know, we've presented evidence from the chief engineer in New York State, who says you cannot have the deck above 30 inches without the 36-inch railing.
I think we
Right,
got all
and
that.
and that is not something that we can change. It's not pre-existing, non-conforming. So we're presented with that challenges. The two options are, as Lisa has presented, and she worked pretty hard at getting this down to 8 inches. It was, I think, particularly higher in,
Before it
in
was
some of the
considerably
first
higher.
iterations of it. But, you know, we've worked pretty hard. You also have in evidence our expert on historic houses who looked at both options and preferred this option, as Lisa has.
So I guess my question is, if we approve this, restoration of the porch, it has no bearing whatsoever on the balance of the house.
Well, it's a part and parcel of it. So,
Yeah, no,
so
no.
an approval.
We
It-
already
it's been
talked
in front
about
of
it.
you. The whole project was in front of you, but I don't, when did it first?
That was like a month.
Well,
months ago.
we've
2023. But
I think
there's-
it's been a significant amount of time between the last time that you
Yeah.
heard this and today.
Yes.
And we had narrowed the issues down to the deck, but it was quite a challenge to get from where we were to here, and, you know, a lot of.
So again, I think it's a very straightforward question. Whether or not we approve this has no bearing whatsoever on the balance of the house.
So I-
Well,
No, it's the project as a whole.
You know, we would expect
Well,
you to
then we
look at
need
it
to
as
see
a
the
whole.
rest of the house.
Well, we have in the past.
But we haven't really
We haven't approved it.
approved
We haven't
anything.
approved it.
Yeah.
So we wanted to get the board's feelings on this. We will give you a whole new set of drawings that show you this as this stands.
So that
It's
detail
my-
was left out.
It's
So
my understanding.
if you're only looking for our point of view about what you've currently designed, I think that's one thing, but
Well, so my understand, I mean, like, again, I watched all those hearings.
Lucky you.
Yeah, it was
It's
thrilling.
long.
And my understanding at the last meeting, I think the architect, Brian, said, okay, are we down to the porch? And I don't remember who they were, but you guys said yes. So I think that the goal here was to get
I'll have
you,
to
Okay.
take a look. I was on the board when that was done, and I don't
That
remember
was-
saying we were okay except for the porch
Yeah,
on
that
anything.
that's,
I don't remember you actually being present for those hearings, Board
Yeah.
Member Gregory.
When
I
this
think
first came up, I was
Yeah.
still on
maybe
board.
when it first came
There's
up,
been-
we
I
were
think there's
back
been twice
several
since then,
times
yeah.
on this.
So, I mean, I think that, you know, if the board is happy with what I'm proposing, then we will make the changes so that everything shows as we're talking about, and then we can give you
So
the
you-
drawings.
So then you're asking for approval of this design to be a part of the full home.
I'm asking for your feedback so that, yes.
We're
so
looking
we
for
can
some
close this out.
guidance, right? We
Okay.
have a
Right, no,
challenge.
that- I
So we
just-
can,
okay,
so
that's-
we can
that's
get
fine.
this to a
Understand what I'm
place where we
approving.
can close it out. I just want to close it out.
Because there was a dog leg version of that house, and there was a straight.
We-
yeah,
and
there was
made many
a lot of
changes.
versions of
Yeah.
this house.
Right,
We
right.
worked through it.
And
Um,
it's deteriorating.
Let me just ask you this question.
Badly.
On when I look at your existing west elevation,
The partial one or the full one? Okay, partial.
okay.
The first one, okay.
On the
go ahead.
right-hand side, it looks like there's 3 stairs, and then is that drawing that's the bottom of the door indicative of the slope of the porch from
Yes.
settling? That is not, in fact, a band that goes below the door.
No, that is in
Okay,
fact
just making sure.
trying to give, you know, if you look at the little side version,
Yeah.
that's kind of giving you an idea of what that 8 inches.
That porch needs some
Then
help.
can you answer this question for me? By doing this way, what happens to the existing versus the proposed ceiling height of the first floor of the historic part of this house?
8 inches higher.
So it does go up 8 inches. Okay. Well, look, they've been here a lot, so let's give them what they're asking for. Our opinion on whether we think this is the right solution for the porch, which is going to inform what Brian comes back to with the house. Is this the way this is going?
Yes.
Okay,
Unless it's
good.
me. It might be me, who knows?
Okay.
Is Brian coming back if we get beyond here?
I don't know that we're there yet, but I think, Lisa has created a fabulous solution, so I suspect she's going to see it to
I get
its
it.
conclusion.
Okay.
No disrespect to Brian. The
None.
interesting, no, we love Brian. The interesting thing is because Lisa has done the sister house to this, which we worked with Lisa on Elm Street. Like, there's a comfort level here that, because we worked a long time on that house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
It's
looks
coming
great.
along
And
better.
it looks
It's coming
great.
along
So,
fast.
okay.
Yeah.
Is the,
I'm going to say,
sorry.
from my perspective, it directionally seems like maybe the best and right solution for this house because we do have to find one. And Susan, you're going with Lisa.
I'm going with Lisa.
Okay.
I think it's at least, it doesn't present visual problems at this point.
That's
And
the goal.
I do see the house rapidly deteriorating.
Yeah.
Bad,
It is.
really.
I feel the same way. I
Okay.
think it's fine. I just have one question on the house itself. There was a wonky bay window on the north side of the house. Is that staying?
I believe that that's staying.
And there,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think there were some, that's why I was
Everything in the
wondering.
historic part of the house was basically sort of staying. The question
Okay.
was, could they jack it up a foot? Was the original question, which is what happened on South Main Street. All right. I'm not exactly.
And I brought you some if you would like them.
I don't
But
have,
this is the first time that we've seen this, so
I'm
we,
not
okay,
exactly
so
sure what the
And- and
motion
again,
is.
if
I don't have-
We'd request
I don't
the
have a
adjournment
copy of
to come
that.
back with
I don't
the
think
full plan
anybody
and run
does.
through that.
I don't have that.
So, okay, are there
Now I
any
do.
questions from the public? Always interesting, Lisa. So then I'm going to motion to accept the applicant's request for an adjournment for 300 North Main Street LLC 2.
Lisa, how quickly can you do 2 weeks?
Oh,
Sure.
2 weeks.
Okay, to
March 22nd,
March 20
not the
24th.
24th. 24th.
Not the 22nd.
I'm the one that keeps calling it
10
the
and
27th.
14 is
I had a flood
24.
today, leave me alone. All right,
Thank
to
you.
March 24th, is there a second? Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, my God.
and in the
I don't
meantime,
have-
Lisa, you'll get
Lisa,
us an agent
I don't have
letter
one of those.
if you're gonna be
You have
an
two?
agent,
Damn you. Did you take
unless you're gonna
it
be a
just now,
secret
too?
agent. That's up to
You
you.
did.
But
No.
if you're gonna show up at public meetings,
Okay,
it's not
because
the
I
same.
had a,
People hand me things, I take them.
okay.
Not always, not up the street, though. Don't even take that. All right, so that takes us up to 653 Wick LLC for 356 Wick Park Road.
Good evening, Will Lanier, architect, 67 Hampton Road, Suite
Email
203.
to me as well.
I'm going to share my screen.
I'll take it if you got it.
was here last week, presented to the board. My client is, just a quick recap to you board members, my client is the original homeowner. House was built in 2004. They are in the process of upgrading the interior for changing times, changing style. Some of the modernization on the inside may reflect itself on the back, I'll show you, and there's an addition proposed to the east side of the house. So this is the new iteration of the house. Graphically, I only hatched the changes last time. I didn't sort of hatch the entire house, and I felt the board didn't sort of read the house, and it wasn't clear what the addition was. So front of the house, proposed above, the existing is below. Just to recap, the windows are being replaced. The grill, instead of a 6/1, is going to be a 4/1 we're proposing on the front. The entry is the biggest change. The board last time didn't have too many objections to it. Thought it was an improvement. We're losing the oval and the Palladian windows. The front large covered entry is being cut off, and that sort of large reverse gable on the front is being...
Question. Go back to the front door for a second.
Yes.
For what's happening there?
So at the front door itself, it's a solid sort of traditional door. We're proposing a wood pivot door.
Pivot door?
Yes, it's just a large wood door, yeah.
But a pivot door.
Yeah.
And those are clear sidelights on
And
both
they're
sides?
clear sidelights on either side, yes, yeah.
Okay.
So that sort of brings you the inside. The inside is going to be very much more modern than you would expect. The oval windows are gone. The front roof gets cut off, scaled down a little bit with maybe a metal accent roof over the front entry. As we come around the left side, there's a current cut-off octagon, if you will, room on the side of the house, which you see here below. And I have some pictures I can share. Better pictures than the last time. So this is the room. It's a fairly large room with a parapet railing on the top. This is a roof deck up above, which is never used. There is a chimney here, which is functional, but it's going to be removed as this fireplace on the first floor is removed. What we proposed last time was replacing this with a gambrel roof form, and the board felt that that was sort of too massive, too much scale. So instead of treating that as a front elevation, a gambrel, we are proposing to sort of mimic the dormers up above, so it becomes a stepped-in gable. And here's the elevation on the side. From the front, you'll see this segment, which is hatched, is set way back. And then on the side, you can see that.
Okay, thanks. So,
You're on A6, right?
Yes, A7 now. A7 is the left elevation.
A7.
no, I did this before.
Okay.
As we come around to the rear of the house, the existing is on the lower half. You'll see that partial octagon on the side, and again, our sort of second floor addition on top of that, which is basically the shed, dormers on the side of the house it carries around. There is proposal to update all of the French doors and windows across the first floor of the back of the house. The light study was brought up last week, and we did a study. We are increasing the light of the first floor about 4.6%.
Really?
Yeah. So the area we came up with, the rear elevation currently is about 15% glazing, and we'll be at 19.6.
On the back?
Yes.
Really? Really?
Yeah, it's a big
to my
house.
eye,
It's a big house. Yeah, we have all the areas.
There's a lot of glass on the
yeah,
back.
we
is
have all
that
the areas.
19% of that?
19.6, yep.
That would be a fifth. Let's just get simple.
It seems like it's more than that.
Me too.
We have all the areas. We spent
No,
hours in the office today double, triple checking. We
Wow.
even
Okay.
took out, as you had requested, we took out all the mullions, so they're not even factored into the French doors. And it's all glazing on the proposed. In addition to the rear, and let me go back to before and after, there was an all-glass railing, replacing the railing on the back of the house. Felt that was a little too modern, so now we're proposing wood vertical supports, much like the current railing, and replacing the balusters with glass. There would be a wood top cap that stayed on top of that.
Could we
the-
just back up 1 second?
Yes.
You said that we suggested you remove them, I think it's called muntins if it's just the dividers. We have this thing about the terminology.
From the calculation, you made a point that they would count towards the calculation. So that my point was that we took those out of the calculation. We weren't counting those in the calculation. We were very specific.
Okay, but you're still contending that it's 19% glass with the proposed, right?
Correct, yeah, 19.6,
On the
yep.
back.
Yep, 19.6.
Is there anything else? I mean,
Right elevation, the garage goes from 3 bays to 2 bays, 1 large door. There's some various miscellaneous window changes. To help explain the scale and the mass a little bit, we did go through starting to model this house. And this is, if you excuse the right half, this is the left half of the house. And again, it's not 100% accurate. It's more to show massing. This is a massing scale. But it sort of shows you the addition relative to the setback front and rear, the height of it relative to the ridges of the house.
this is so helpful.
Can you turn it so we can see like the street
of that.
facing with the,
Yeah, so this, minus the house that's not there, let me move that out of the way. This would be street facing.
What's the big wall?
what's the, wait,
Like I said, please, we only modeled the left
Oh.
gambrel of the
Right, right,
house.
right.
okay.
This is
okay,
really to show you the
I hear you.
massing,
Okay.
the scale and proportion of this versus the
Because the
house.
square part just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Big
And then in the
wall
back, you'll
facing
see,
straight
so
in the window.
the addition is here. So
It's too
this,
open.
this is the addition. The addition comes out to the existing wall of the house. This existing railing is here. We just extended it in front of this gambrel. And this is pretty accurate to the railing now and the first floor doors and windows.
Go back to your comment about you said in the rear, that last week's meeting, they said take the mullions or the muntins out of the windows for light?
In the calculation, I'm sorry if
I didn't
It's
say
just
that,
in the
trust me.
In the calculation,
I'm
yes.
Not in the plan.
Not in the plan, in the
Oh, I was like,
calculation,
oh, okay.
yes.
So what did we request to change from the last meeting?
I didn't,
What- do
it
you
was
remember
how
what was
much
requested?
glass,
How much glass? Right.
Okay.
not how he was going to, I didn't say that, I don't know who did.
There wasn't a number known for the glass, so I wanted to say that.
Right.
There was a concern about the scale and mass of the addition on the side with the gambrel roof line as opposed to this.
I still have some issues with it. And I've been over there a lot.
And we drove past the house, we took videos. You can catch glimpses of a house in there, you can't make any details out of
We
the
can't do
house.
it that way, sir.
I'm just letting you know.
If a big
Winter
wind comes
happens.
and blows
This is
the hedge
Windsor.
down,
So,
We're- there's the house. We can't decide that landscaping will cover up your house or your addition.
Susan, you want to go through your comments?
Well, my comments are that I still think that the addition unbalances the massing of the house, even now, that it's bulk, it ruins the rhythm of the gambrels. It just seems to me to be tacked on no matter what you do, that way. And what's there now is pleasing.
Okay.
And someone had suggested, not me, Nina, that maybe like a more tower or turret structure that's not, so what I feel is you have this lyrical kind of going across house, and then all of a sudden you still have tacked on this kind of bulky thing that I think has nothing to do with the house, that's all. And that if you had, and the beauty of the thing that you have now is, it is not the same as the main part of the house, and it adds to, and it doesn't add to the notion of massing. You know, it's a big sweep along there, that house. So I still don't think that the problem has been solved.
And we discussed the tower idea, or it wasn't
Let's get on your comments.
yeah, I
John?
have less of an issue with the addition because I think it looks subservient to the balance of the house, which you're trying to preserve the gambrel roof. So I think putting a tower there would make that the centerpiece and totally take the attention away from the house itself. Plus, I think they're just inappropriate for the village of Southampton. The front of the house, I think I think it looks good. Thank you for taking away the gambrel windows and those side lights by the front door. My only comment on the front door, or the front, is the front door itself and the side lights. It just seems very, and I understand what you're trying to do, contemporize the interior of the house, but from an exterior standpoint, it just sticks out like a sore thumb. It doesn't have any relationship to the design of the house, the current design of the house. And the only other comment I have is on the back of the house. I think the fenestration, there's too much glass. I think removing on the first level those 4 big doors, making it 4 to 3 would make all the difference.
Just to make them both 3?
Yeah, make them both 3.
I agree with you.
And the second floor, I would like to see the balcony pretty much to the extent of its current design in the house. I think taking the balcony all the way to the end of the house is a bit excessive, and it throws off the balance of the house.
So even that addition below that gambrel comes out flush with the wall, so there'd be a flat roof there. You're okay with the flat roof, and you just don't want to see a railing up there?
I just think the balcony, the railing. I mean, those are 3 doors, right? Not.
There are 3 doors, but that's part of the addition. Yeah,
Right,
so that room is being pulled out.
So if you mimicked the 3 windows on the opposite side of the house there and removed the balcony, I just think it's too much.
So you think you should take? You think they should take the second floor extension up to be even with
Correct.
pushing the bottom floor addition?
Right, say that one more time. If I look at the 3D, so if I remove the railing but pull the first
you're
floor
missing
out.
the other part of the house. On the other, if you look at the left side where you've got.
Yeah. Oh, this.
Yes. You see on the left upper story comes forward.
Yeah.
Yep. This part.
Yeah. The wall is the same as the second floor, or does that set back? I can't.
This is set back from the face of this.
By how far? 2 feet.
I
like a little peplum roof.
have some other pictures of the back of the
It's
house
like a little
too.
peplum roof.
And wasn't that the
See,
original?
there's
that
a
it
door that
stops?
comes out
Yeah.
of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to your addition and mirrored that on the other side, because what you're saying is you're actually not building that forward, you're just extending the first floor.
Yeah, you'll see that this comes way out in front of the gambrel already, and we were extending this wall.
Right,
the
you're
right.
spreading that wall all the way across,
Right.
but you're not extending the second floor.
Correct.
I think extending the second floor would be more successful. And you'd mirror the side. You'd mirror the side entrance to the other side.
Pull this gambrel out
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
leave a window there.
And
Yeah?
that would keep the. I don't really have such an issue with the glass, but as a material there. But if you pulled that out and made it mirror the other side, I think it would be more successful and more typical to what we see in the Hamptons.
Okay, I think these are in plane now. I think this bumps out,
Yeah.
and so this would be pulled out even further.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also, the metal over the front door, I don't think that goes with the style of house that we have here. The house is too fancy. That metal is farm material. And you are in a farm district, I do realize that. I'd also like to add that when I went over there, your neighbors, 348 and 350, are in disrepair, and I reported that to the building department because they are the real farmhouses in this special district of the Wickapog Farmhouse District, Historic Farmhouse District.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yeah. This 2004 is.
No, I know yours isn't, but your neighbors need to preserve their houses.
My other comments would be the pivot door for me doesn't work at all. It's a very contemporary application of what is a very traditional house, and I think it's not in keeping with what we normally see and what is typical and harmonious with Hampton's
Okay.
houses. I'm sort of with both of them for different reasons on the extension over on the left-hand side. I think suddenly you've got a farmhouse shape at the end of the house. And I don't know that that's successful. The volume of it doesn't bother me as much as actually I think the build shape of the extension is disharmonious to the rest of the structure.
I mean, we all much preferred the gambrel roofline that was there. I could pull that up from last week to show you.
we go.
So that was the front, that was the left side.
Hmm. I think that works better. I think the answer's sort of in the middle. I think the gambrel shape works better with a house with gambrel roofs. I just think it's just, if there's a way to bring the scale of that down a little bit to where the mass is not quite so big versus making it into a farmhouse, it's going to be more sort of harmonious and typical to here, more successful.
So the roof line would not be continuous under the addition then? It would just
Yeah.
be,
Well, the way where the roof line drops down for this,
right.
that same sort of idea that the roof line would drop down over the extension, but the shape not look farmhouse on a gambrel house might be, I think that would be more successful. I think the change in the windows on the first floor from the oval to the square is great. Do you know what in that standing seam room, is that real standing seam or is it aluminum?
It's called out as Galvalume, but if you prefer lead-coated copper, the idea was it's sort of gray and
Yeah.
blend.
I would totally, in the house, at this house, at that size, in this neighborhood, lead-coated copper would be real material.
But do you think
Would-
that that's
Yeah, that
appropriate to
yeah.
that kind of a house?
well, it doesn't bother me.
Okay, bothers
Because-
me.
I know.
It's such a small detail.
Yeah.
If it were the entire roof, yes, I'd have an issue.
Yeah, it's just
But
an
it's
accent.
it's a showy front of the house detail.
So you prefer the lead-coated copper? I
I
mean,
don't
I know you
prefer-
don't.
I think Susan prefers shingle.
They don't need that. It's just more.
And just so I'm clear on the side, so the gambrel roof line, a smaller version of that?
I think would be more successful
More
in
appropriate,
than
yeah.
introducing a non-harmonious shape to a gambrel
Let's
house.
see if we
I
can
think
scale
we
that
can
down.
make it
Maybe
up. Yeah.
it's not as wide, or the upper roof can be a different pitch maybe to help scale that down. It is
So
sitting on an
although,
existing.
I will tell you, just take under advisement, because we don't actually tell you how to
Mhm.
design your house. Take under advisement that while I may think lead copper is fine, I'm not feeling
Mhm.
like other board members feel that. So I would take a serious thought about that detail over the front door.
Okay. There was a detached garage part of the application too, which there was no comments on. If you wanted to see it, it was,
It's in the first,
it's in the first, it's
Submission.
in the first submission, yeah.
I think I looked at it.
I could pull it up here too.
If you could pull it up, that'd be great. It's here.
It's March 4th.
What is this one?
Is it 3 bays? Is it A9?
It's a separate set of drawings, its own application. It was, it's a 3-car detached garage. It looks much like the pool house that's on the lot.
Is it this?
It's this, Susan.
It was a separate set of drawings.
Yeah. It's page A3, separate set drawing. It's,
That's
it's on the
nice.
back. It's at the end. If you've got the last week's drawings, it's at the end.
Oh, okay. That's what I was asking.
And just do me a favor. The garage doors are not clear, are they? They're painted?
They're wood.
Okay,
wood,
they're
yeah.
not clear glass. You
They're
can't
not
see
clear.
through the garage doors.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and they face the other garage, so they sort of face
Yeah.
each other, creating a courtyard there.
Siding is natural. Wood is the ceiling's wood. The
Matched.
trim color is
Match the house 100%.
okay.
yeah.
And are there any surface fixtures on this garage? Surface lighting fixtures.
Haven't gotten there yet, but
Okay. Well, since you're coming back anyway, I would just say you should indicate where they're probably required by code. I would indicate where the surface fixtures are,
okay.
and that's true of the whole house. Yeah. Because I know you're going to require one by the side door.
Okay.
As from my standpoint, as an overall shape of the garage itself, I think it's simple, it's clean, it matches the house. We want to know, where exterior lighting fixtures going, and what they look like in their scale. But that'd be my comment. Susan? You agree?
I think that the garage is the least of my objections. They're fine. It's fine. I'm more worried about the house.
Okay. Are there any comments from the public?
Oh.
Okay. So do you think those changes can be ready on the 24th?
Yeah, yes,
Which
yep.
I keep calling the 22nd, but it's not because it's really the
24th,
24th.
I got it. 24th, yeah.
So you'd like us to adjourn to that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Motion to set the applicant's adjournment for 356 Wickapog Road to March 24th. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Next up is new matters. First one is 496 First Neck Lane. Do you have the affidavits and are they in order?
Yes.
Is
Great.
there someone here? Oh, good.
Okay, if you could take a seat and pull the microphones over so the public can hear you and introduce yourself to the record, please.
Patrick Ahern, architect.
Okay,
Tim Seaback, Patrick
to the
Ahern.
microphone.
Tim Seaback, Patrick Ahern, architect.
Great, thank you. Okay. Yes?
We're here this evening to talk about a new house on First Neck Lane. What we have here is the existing site plan. I'll generally go through it, but we have them go back in detail. This is the lot, and this is the lot, which is a vacant piece of land.
Is it like a go-kart track? I don't.
Yeah, you kind of race around it if you like. In terms of context,
I'm going to ask Ashley, you probably need to sit down and get closer to the mic, because the public needs to hear. You can pull that mic over toward you. Thank you.
how's that? Can you hear
Giving
me?
a thumbs up. Yes.
Here we have photographs around the.
You said that and turn it, just slide it toward you. There you go. Yeah. Like a radio announcer or not. Go ahead.
Okay, all right, here we go, one more time. All right, so here we have photographs of the various views from around the site. And here is the illustrative site plan, which locates the house and the carriage house wing, a pool, and a sunken tennis court, and the preservation of all the existing trees that are along the north side in particular, and the introduction of new trees in terms of an alley coming through to the entry court and a secondary service lane over there. This is the surveyor's laying out of the plan. Then this is the view coming down the driveway to the front of the house. It's a 26-foot tall gambrel, symmetrical about itself. Carriage house is off to the wing on the left. There would be cobblestone edging with a crushed stone driveway coming up and arriving at the front door of the house. As we move around the carriage house, the primary doors are on the back side, and then there's a singular door of the middle bay that opens out onto the parking court. We have white cedar shingles to weather gray. We have red cedar roof. We have proper pins and holdbacks on all the shutters. The window boxes, we have copper gutters and downspouts, stone veneer base, and brick chimneys. As we move around towards the rear of the house, we have a covered porch and secondary deck area. It goes out to a lawn, and then onto the pool and the tennis court beyond that. As we move to the north elevation, we have a side porch, and this is the carriage house over here. This is from the service court side, showing the carriage doors and the copper lanterns, the copper gutters and downspouts, the cupola, singular dormers. There's a collection of the details. The shutters would be a Benjamin Moore Hale Navy blue, historic color. Trim is white. We have bluestone pavers. We have the fieldstone dry set look on the foundation and the brick chimneys. We have the proper pins and holdbacks on the shutters, the lamplighter type corner light fixture from Northeast Lantern. It's a number of the architectural details showing how it all comes together. And we have the true elevations. The west elevation is up above, recognizing that the garage wing projects out forward. This is from the south elevation as well. This is the rear elevation facing out to the pool, to the tennis. We have the north elevation, again showing the carriage house. Although it's not in your jurisdiction, but generally here are the floor plans. All right. Second floor plan and roof plan. So that's the overview of where we are.
Board members. John?
I think it's a handsome house. I think it, hold on, stay here. The front facade, my only question would be the Palladian windows and the eaves of the gambrel.
We could remove them if you prefer.
I mean, these. I think just one.
We have the oversailing eave, so I mean that's with the little brackets. So that's the detail that's most important.
Yeah.
We don't have to have the.
I think this goes just a bit too far.
It's okay.
But I think
we can remove
looking
those.
house. The front facade looks very nice, finishes and so forth. My main concern is the south side, is the balcony, the side balcony on the second floor of the, is that the south side or north side?
It's the,
That one, yes. I always worry about privacy of neighbors, and while the balcony on the back, I think it's fine because it's a deep lot and far from the neighbors behind. But on the side, given the proximity of that house that's just across the property line, I think it could be a potential issue. Especially those probably with the 10-foot ceilings in the first floor of the house, so the balcony is even higher than what would be a norm for a second floor balcony in an older home.
Except we have that whole line of existing trees.
I
that
get
are
that,
significant.
but that trees to me, or bushes especially, are transitory. They don't last forever.
Well, the neighbor is quite concerned that we don't touch those trees, so.
That's fine.
Mhm.
That's my concern.
Okay.
Other than that, I think it's fine.
and could you just show us where the neighbor has a pool right behind your situation here, right? Their pool is in by that little cottage pool house.
I think maybe the overall pool, yeah, it is set further back.
Yeah,
That is your pool house, I believe. I think the pool can live there.
I think that you can live in there too. Could be wrong. Yeah, so
So
where is
there-
that?
That's way over here. Our house is over here. And this is that line of trees that that we talked about. So our house sits over in here. And then this is their pool house, and this is their pool way over here. So we're hundreds of feet away from that house.
So, okay, so the 520 that's indicated on page 3, that's the side of the house, the balcony that we're talking about?
Correct.
So, but that building that's right, very close to the property line, you're saying that's a pool house, or it's?
No, oh, I thought you were talking about over here.
Yes, there's two questions. The rear pool house is here, and that's the rear property. Regarding the side balcony, this is a guest house for 520, whose main house is
Got it.
Way back here.
Okay, so I stand by my concern for that balcony. But that's it for me.
From my perspective, we'll talk about trees in a minute because we'll get a letter from them later. I echo John's. I think John, you were to be clear, are you discussing these windows or these windows?
These
little dinkers.
Oh, the half moons.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. This is not really. This is just a quibble. When you build houses in Connecticut, a lot of them had stone foundations because that's what was on the land. It's the same reason they have stone fences all over Connecticut. We didn't have that in Southampton, the farmland that we have. So stone foundations is not normal here and not typical of what we see in Southampton.
I'm
You know,
happy to go to brick.
somebody came back once and said, "No, we have that in the windmill." I was like, "That's not actually true. That was put on that windmill in 1994 when it was renovated." So again, it's just a quibble. What we see, brick foundations are just more typical to what we see.
I have no problem with that.
And you've got brick chimneys on it.
Right.
I think you've designed a very handsome house that fits very well on the property. I like the scale of the light fixtures. It doesn't matter what I like. I feel like the scale of the light fixtures is appropriate. I would share John's concern a little bit about the sight line from the Is it possible to get a sight line photograph from that balcony on that property to what it looks like to that house next door?
From that height, would you feel more comfortable if you cannot access that balcony? Or from,
Yes.
if that was just a window? You
Yes.
move the
We
door?
could do that. That's not a
You just
problem.
make that a window and not make it an
Right,
accessible
we would do that.
balcony.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
fine.
Then that way they get
It's
the.
just the activity on that
I got
balcony.
it. I got it. And I don't have a problem going to the brick veneer, because we were
You're
thinking
doing a
about
stone
that
veneer
today.
anyway. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with Mark on that too.
Just make, when you drive through Connecticut, that's their big feature, which I really like. Are there any comments from the public?
Don't ask me.
And you saw the neighbors' letters about trees.
Right, and we're not touching the
You're
trees.
not touching any of the trees.
So, I'm just, so the entire, so half of, all of these balconies, some of them, it seemed, I know there's a main balcony and there are chairs out there, right? That's
Correct.
fine.
On the rear of the house.
Yeah,
The center balcony kind of.
yeah, but I feel like it's an awful lot of balconies, and I know that there's a porch underneath. I guess there's not much you can do. I think your house is handsome, by the way.
They're not that deep though, the balconies, are they?
Yeah,
They're
it just
just
seems
right out
like
the
a-
bedroom.
It's
It
really,
seems
the
like a
railing
row.
becomes the cresting for the
Yeah.
porch below.
Yeah, I get that.
So by eliminating the door, then it's no longer
It's
really
not
a
even to go
balcony.
out on it, it's just
Right,
looking at it.
so it's really about the railing completing the porch.
Yes, I hear you.
So does it be the north and the west end balconies, we're gonna just deny take the access away? Or the north
I
one?
think
We were just
the
talking about the south.
the
The south one,
South.
the one that's closest to the house, okay. No comments. So what I'm hearing is that removal of those two windows that
That's
face
tough.
front, and changing the foundation from stone to brick, and closing off access to, how am I gonna describe that? What do we
South
call it?
balcony,
The south balcony,
It becomes windows instead of doors. And
correct.
okay. I
It just
think,
doesn't have a,
sounds to me like, if that's in agreement with you, I think it sounds to me like you have approval.
Thank you.
And that works for you?
It does.
Okay. So then I'm gonna motion,
Whoa.
What?
First, isn't there someone? Okay,
I think
That
the
was
neighbor
the
had
tree
worries about the
person.
trees.
okay.
Is it back on? Okay. I did ask.
So what happened? They're
And-
gone or they're not?
And this is also for a certificate of
It's a
appropriateness.
written,
Yes.
yeah.
I was getting to
Hello? Hi, sorry.
Wanted to make sure we didn't
Could you
forget.
introduce yourself for the record, please?
Sure, Maximilian Cascante, I'm the neighbor. I think the question was addressed, if I understood it correctly, which was simply the trees in the driveway will remain. We think the house is very handsome as stated during the course of the meeting.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay. So I'm going to motion that we move to written decision to approve 496 First Neck Lane with the stipulations that the two half-moon windows facing forward are removed, the balcony access to the south balcony is changed to non-access and with a brick
Can
foundation.
you slow down?
I got it.
And with a brick foundation.
I have to write it.
Okay,
I know.
Mhm.
okay,
And we
fine.
don't have minutes.
Okay.
Jackie is
Oh.
online.
What?
Okay.
Jackie's
So is there
online.
a second?
Oh, she's online.
Is there a second? There's a motion.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Because we've moved it to written decision, what I would ask is just
Change
make
these.
those changes to the plans and bring them in,
Second.
and then we can sign them.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you so much.
And then you don't actually have to come here, you know.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah, you just.
Because
just-
we're gonna
just
vote on it.
Put up updated plans. All right, so that takes us to Palo Verde LLC at 99 Jobs Lane.
You're just going to flip that 180 degrees.
It's amend, so maybe it's okay. I can figure it out.
Sure.
Oh, thank you. Oh, it's the old, I think, John,
Thank you.
this goes into the Jobs Lane, the Il Verano sign.
Yes, it's
project
the
we had
extension
for-
of El Verano.
Yeah.
But it's not really, if that's
Okay.
what it is.
Sean Leonard, the architect. Can you hear me? Does that work?
Can you hear?
Okay.
Mark, I have the
Have
affidavits
it
in
in
there
there.
in order.
Okay, thank you.
Do you need me to repeat Sean Leonard? The
You're good.
architect?
You're
We're
good.
We're
Got
good.
it. Didn't know if he. So this has been before you before.
Yep.
And at that time, the colors of the building were remaining with the blue. As you see this first photograph that I have
Oh, okay.
presented. That's so the second photograph is what it looks like today. That white that you see is just primer at the moment. But when we looked at it, we thought the white would look nicer than the blue. So that's one of the reasons why we're coming back to you, is to get the feeling, get your, comments on that. The other is, in looking at it also, you can see the, up top, the pilaster that's up top, if it was to be brought all the way down, doesn't balance out the between 99 and 101 very well. So if we could center it between the door and the window, we felt then we had, right down the center here, if we can center that in between, then it created a little bit nicer balance. And then the last is, we want to put up what is basically just a sign board. It's not a sign, it's just a board that this, as the tenants would come in, that would be what they're limited to as far as where they could place their sign.
But you're actually boxing that in?
Boxing that in, that's correct.
But
So the
in the
sign-
light color?
In the white color, exactly. So we want a white background on the board, on the building there.
With the intention that that bordered area is not necessarily where a full space of sign might appear.
Correct. But it would at least ensure that it was gonna be balanced
Right.
well on the building.
Got it. No, that makes sense.
And at least the two stores also have some
Right.
sort of,
Well, the sign will
balance
still be
going.
approved independently, so. Yeah.
that's correct.
Was the El Verano sign replaced?
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Endlessly.
What?
Yeah.
Yes, I
Remember
believe it
that,
has
the
been.
guy
I
didn't
not
come in
that's-
with it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, he told us he was waiting to, he had a temporary approval of sign until last May.
it was up for like 2 years.
It was
Yeah.
over but he had a temporary approval until May because he was waiting for the building to come in, but now we're here in February, so I just want to know, is the sign that's on El Verano the one that's been there forever, or did they actually
No,
update it?
actually, the one that's up there currently is different than the one that used to be up before.
Because
Right.
one was a badly painted board. And they
Yes,
promised us
they
were gonna
brought,
paint
it.
it.
Correct.
we approved
Yeah.
this
Right.
last one,
And
but
the
it
new
took
one's
a
just a
long
better
time.
version of the badly
Yeah, yeah,
painted
right,
board.
right.
Yeah.
It's not that much different.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah, we
is,
won't go there.
is
And
in
it's-
your,
It's not white, it's off-white, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
so in your proposal, the El Verano sign that's there is the one that's already existing?
That's, I just
Yeah.
showed, right, that's just existing. I just did that to show.
Yeah.
And you can see when I first came to you,
Yeah.
the oval sign was the Job's Lane sign that used to be up there.
Yeah.
And
So why,
just for scale, I just thought it would help to have.
why wouldn't you use the same treatment for the El Verano sign then? Or is this
That's
all?
not- I'm not
That's
here to
already
tell you about
approved.
I'm not-
That's
I'm not here
over.
for-
Yeah.
yeah, that's actually the
That-
restaurant.
Right.
I'm just really here for 99.
No, I agree, I know,
I'm sorry.
but the owner owns this entire building, correct, or no?
That
No.
is correct.
Oh, yeah?
So my question again is why not have the same treatment for the entire front of the,
I think because at the moment right now with El Verano being there and they, whatever the agreement that has been set in place, that was all done prior. And now I think he's trying to set, kind of a new tone. I think if things were to change in the future, then I might be back to say we want to,
Put a little thing around it.
exactly, but.
They already have an approval for their sign.
No, I know that.
Oh, okay.
It's about being consistent with the facade of the building. So my vote would be to go this, to eliminate that framing and just approve the signs when they're submitted. And we will determine whether the sign is appropriate, the appropriate space in the storefront, correct? That would happen anyway.
You mean instead of predetermining the squares and putting
Right.
them in there? The
Well,
framing
Well,
and
it
putting
doesn't
them in.
predetermine it, it just gives a space for it.
I don't think it's necessary.
Well, maybe they want it. I think it makes it look
You know,
less industrial, which was I noticed when they were coming across. This is Job's Lane.
right. And I don't think that makes a difference.
Okay, well, we disagree then.
There you go.
Okay, so. I'm sorry, what color white is, and that's Craig's.
It's simply white.
So it's bright white. If it's simply white, simply white is, okay. All right,
It's off-white. Is there a color named?
Yeah, simply white.
Simply white?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not that 01 stark white.
Correct.
And the trim color will be the same?
Correct.
I think it's improvement to the building, lining everything up makes it work. Your idea is to predetermine the signage by actually putting blank signs on the building until somebody moves in?
Correct. Just a frame board.
From my perspective, the one thing that limits is people wanting coming in and asking us for even bigger signs. But on the other hand, it makes it look a little like a strip mall.
Well, I think it looks more like a strip mall, though, if you don't have those.
Now, we're forgetting that when businesses do move in, they will have sign requests that then we can approve independently of a border that it might sit in. I mean, the idea of the signage in the historic part of the village is to have interesting, substantial signs that are more than just like a printed graphic slapped on a piece of PVC. And that's the impression that I get from this in the plan, is that that's exactly what it's going to be, which is what El Verano did, which is what we're trying to avoid.
I disagree. Okay.
That's your
Well,
prerogative.
let me ask you this. If we think the design is fine, if we think the color is fine, and just ask that you not put the predetermined signs over the two doors,
That's fine.
how do you feel about that?
That's fine.
Okay. Does that work for you?
Yes.
Are you okay with that?
No.
You're gonna turn this down because by taking those down?
I don't know, still thinking.
Okay.
I've driven past and thought that this sweep, the whole new part, right, looks something like a strip mall, that it has a kind of industrial thing going on, which is clean looking, but I feel like those little indications of where the sign may be, divided up in a hokier way, which is sort of, it's not the right word, in a less industrial looking way.
Well, it's gonna be a self-fulfilling prophecy, because when they lease the space and people come in,
Well,
yeah. Because I think, personally, I think I would be more, just for now, taking this down until they actually lease it and we figure out who we're
well,
putting
then they
there.
can't put the thing around it.
Sure they could. If that's part of a sign request, they could request
We
that.
could make them do that.
Fire away. I'm not going there, I don't think. I don't know, did you look at the sweep of the sort of, I was wondering what they were doing. That this whole thing is blank and flat.
Well, right now it's unleased space.
True.
So once somebody leases space, signs will go there. They're just not going to be this predetermined sign.
All right,
So-
I'm not
but I
gonna,
don't
I'm
wanna
not
s-
gonna hold
I
up.
don't feel like we should hold this guy up for that.
I'm not going to,
Not
but
coming through.
I honestly think
Okay.
it was a good idea.
So
Honestly.
I'm going to motion to approve the application for 99
Written
Jones Lane with
decision.
with the removal of, what?
It's
Written
written.
To move to written
Historic.
decision, the approval for 99 Jones Lane with the removal of the two predetermined frames over the
I hate
non-leased
to do this,
space.
but did we ask for public comment?
Oh, I thought we did. Is there public comment? Okay, so I'm going to motion to move to written decision, the application for 99 Jobs Lane with the removal of the two predetermined sign locations for the currently unleased space. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, I've lost my thing. Okay, so that takes us to public hearings non-historic, then we had an adjournment, so it takes us new matters non-historic, 95 Fordham Road. Do you have the affidavits and are they in order?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Hello?
You made it.
Yes.
Okay, if you'd state your name for the record, please.
My name is Julian Munoz, and I'm the builder for this property.
Okay.
It's going to be a very, I think, simple extension in order to square out the, let me show you here. So right here, the house is not square, so we have this empty space here that we are going to fill it up for a new master bedroom or a crawl space. The house has right now 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, so we are going to do a new master, and one of the existing bedrooms is going to be the master bathroom. We're gonna, basically this is going to be the new look right here of the extension, which is going to basically follow all the, it's going to be out like
You're
a,
just popping it
like
out.
a 2 feet out, and but it's going to keep the same materials, profile, and of the existing house. Cedar shingles, cedar siding, Anderson windows and doors, slider doors with grills,
And the color?
black.
Okay.
So basically, we are going to match what we have here.
Do you have photos of all elevations of the house?
I submit that to you guys, but I don't have any here. I have only, but we have here this 3D, so right here we have the pool, the future pool house, which right now is a garage.
And the parking
The parking is,
in the front of the house?
yes,
And there, how many bedrooms? Two?
2,
And how many parking spaces?
3.
Okay. Outside lights? You go over
We're
there?
gonna keep the same profile that we have here. This one here.
Okay.
I see a gooseneck.
Yeah, gooseneck. On the extension
and
and also
another
on the
two.
pool house as well.
It's the same building.
Okay. Board members?
Can you show the part of the design that shows the windows for the new extension?
You mean here?
Yeah, and with the new extension is the very lower right-hand section, correct?
Correct, yes, this one here.
And those are all windows across the entire?
And that
No,
faces the
this
backyard.
right here, this is the kitchen, and it has like a French door
Uh-huh.
with 2 lights,
Right.
and this one is going to be the master, but it's going to be a sliding door.
Okay.
Is it an 8-foot slider or 12-foot?
It's a,
Short.
I think it's
No, the width.
Oh.
It's a 10-foot wide.
How much?
10, I think.
10? Yeah, that's about that.
Yeah, a lot of glass in the back of the house. Small ones.
Except the small house to maneuver.
John, you got other questions?
Yeah, I would just like to see the sliders on the addition being reduced from maybe like the 10 foot to 8 foot, something to reduce the fenestration on the back of the property.
You
There's
want
there's
to
a
think smaller?
Yeah,
Okay.
Narrower.
narrower.
An hour, yes.
Other than that, I think it's fine.
Susan?
I have no objection to it. It's a tiny little,
They really
tiny,
need- They really need this space.
like there's a
And also right
pool.
here, the pool
Right.
house as well. I would like that you take a look of the pool house. I mean, it's a garage, but it's going to be a pool house with 2 sliders, one in one side and one in the front. The same one that we're planning to do here, which is basically right here. So this is the existing front of the garage. Now it's going to be a slider, and this is one side of the garage, which is going to be towards the pool, which is and this is the back for the mechanical, pool equipment, mechanical room, and this is the new extension here. Pool house, front, the pool house, side, and the pool here.
Pull up the pool house elevations for me again, if you would, please.
And there's a big fence around the back, right?
It is,
Is it,
Yeah.
yeah,
it should be for pool code,
okay.
Okay, comments on the pool house?
No, I'm fine.
No objection.
Seems to me the only issue that you're facing is that 10-foot wide slider on the back of the extension. Can you make it 8?
good, yeah.
Okay, are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just following the same window-to-wall
Yeah.
ratio that we would use for any
Yeah.
home, and this should also
No, I
apply.
agree with you. I think you're right. And also, Fordham has, these lots are very tight. Did I ask any comments from the public? Okay, so I'm going to motion that we approve the drawings for 95 Fordham Road with the request to take the extension sliding glass front window from 10 feet to 8 feet.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Do I need to come back here or just to the building department? How that?
What I'd like you to do is you just update the drawings and give them to the building department. That'll be great, and then when I come in, I'll sign them.
There.
Okay.
Great.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
109 David White's Lane.
And this application does include demolition evaluation.
Pardon?
This does include demolition evaluation of an existing home.
What did you say, Damon?
So this application for a new home includes demolition evaluation of the existing home. So I just wanted to flag that for the board's attention. Sometimes another board does the demolition part
Yeah,
first.
It's nice to see them both together.
I
Yeah.
didn't see the application for that.
Do you have the affidavits? Are they in order?
Yes.
Okay. You actually told me at the top of the meeting you have all the affidavits and they're all in order, if I
I
remember.
know, it's so exciting.
Okay. All right.
Do you have a demo? Demo?
Okay.
Oh, here it is. Well, it says demo existing home, but don't you have to have a separate thing?
Well, do you have photos of the existing
have
home?
I do.
Yes, can you let, what?
I have the eval sheet.
You do? What?
You can lay them out so the public knows which house we're talking about. And what can you tell us about that house?
It's Bill Brown, William Brown Architects,
Oh,
I'm sorry for the
thank you.
applicant, 109 David White Lane.
Okay.
It's in severe disrepair.
Here it is.
It was built in, don't have exact, it's built approximately in
Just
1994.
slide it in front of you.
1994, I think. It's as close as I could get, and it's in severe disrepair, and we're proposing to remove it and build a new home.
Board members?
Oh, 1964.
64?
Yeah. Yeah. It was 90, I drove by, it wasn't 94.
That's when the original CO was issued.
Okay, thank you.
Board members, thought on the existing house?
I don't, I'm sure someone would think it's a beautiful house, but in this context, I think it's fine to
Yeah.
do what you would need to do.
Because it's not a historic district,
Yeah.
it's not a house we would seek landmark
Right.
designation for. So you want us to do this separately, council?
Yeah, if you could do that first.
Okay. Okay, a motion to approve the demo request for 109 David Slice Lane. Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we can go to the house. Okay,
Okay. We're proposing a new residence, and the materials, just to go through those real quick, it'll be a cedar shake roof, white aluminum half-round gutters.
is that in fact a rendering?
Yes.
Why don't you, if you're gonna do the materials, show us the rendering
Did we
at the
get
same
that?
time.
No.
Oh, perfect.
Okay?
I have copies if you want.
Yeah, we'll take a copy of it, yeah.
Okay. So just to run through the materials, it's a cedar shake roof perfections, white half-round gutters, Anderson divided light windows, white PVC trim with crown, copper flashing, stained or mahogany front door. Siding is Maybach white cedar shingle, stained white. Front entry lights are a lantern style, approximately 8 or 10 inches tall. Brick base is going to be a Danish blend, and underground electric service, of course. So it compose most of the exterior.
Okay. Now take us through the elevations, if you would, sir.
So the front elevation, which faces David's White Lane, has two peaks, as you.
Can you pass those up here while you're speaking, because I'd like to be able to compare one to the other.
Oh, what do you know?
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting, go ahead.
That's all right. So it's two symmetrical peaks over a tenemented front door, with glass in the front door and the side lights. It's a 4/1 double hung window, which I think fits in well. The double hung windows on the second floor are the smallest proportion I can have with still getting egress. So the windows on the first floor are another 6 inches taller, so they would be 5 foot as opposed to 4'6". The ceiling heights is 9 foot on the first floor and 8 to the spring line on the second, and then of course the ceilings on the second floor will be higher, but that'll be built into the ceiling and won't be apparent from the exterior. There's one chimney on the left side that I can take you around. The elevation that I'm showing you right now is the right side with the side entrance with a small
And
shed.
what's the cardinal point on that? Your right side is your,
Excuse me.
what's your cardinal marking on that? Your right is east, west, north, south? Because they're not cardinal points on here.
I don't have the north.
So wait,
It is
That is,
the Pelletreau Street side, which is the,
the south
that's
side.
the south side, so the right side would be the north side, correct, or approximately?
Okay.
I
Okay.
apologize, there's no north side roll on my plan.
that's right.
Okay.
And I'm a seller, so I should be in good trouble.
Aye.
So the right side, you can see the brick base. We flared the shingles over the brick on the exterior. There are gable end windows in the gables. There's no access to that floor, but through the attic access. If you go back to the rear, which is our top elevation on A5, there's a classic window in the gable over the in the center, which is the master bathroom, and then below that is a 4-panel slider, a casement in the left side where the kitchen is, and to the right is a triple double hung in the family room. Then the next elevation is the proposed Pelletreau elevation, which would be, we're saying that's south, I think. That's where we have the brick fireplace, the brick base, the double hung window units that are symmetrical on the gable in the family room and the master bedroom. The same window in the gable end in the attic, and then in the office some double hungs. And then the front portico, which sticks out approximately 3 feet, 1'6" over the setback line. So.
Okay. We went to the garage?
Oh, I'm sorry. The garage is a 1-car garage with a door facing the south. It's got the same architectural style as the home with a brick base, white cedar shake siding, and a cedar shake roof. And then the open portico cabana is an open see-through cabana with columns, and then it has at the one end a bathroom that has a brick base, exact same architecture as the house. So all 3 buildings will match the same materials, size, and scale.
Okay.
So on the garage, there's 3 windows that are stacked? What is
They
that?
were gonna, again, I don't know what kind of door they're gonna select, but I would say it'd be like a 3-panel door. I think just my error.
Right now, it looks like you got a mid-century modern door
No,
stuck on the front of a
It's just
fairly
for some
traditional-
reason
like
on the computer.
Tattle House
Trust me, it'll be like a 6-panel.
Pancakes or something's gonna go on.
No,
Okay.
it will be a 6-panel door. I like drawing things by hand.
John, do you want to start?
Yeah. On the front facade, I think it looks very nice. I think the only comment is the second floor window above the main entrance, I think is a bit large,
Okay.
and it kind of throws off, I think, the balance of the two sides. So I think it needs to be maybe brought down a bit.
Okay.
And also, I'm wondering if on the plan, you don't show that ribbing that's above the corbels,
Yes.
but on the rendering you do.
Okay.
Which are you proposing?
I don't have the
I mean-
rendering in front of me again now.
Oh,
see, you give it all away. And
it's, you can take this back. See above in the eaves, there's like that.
The board and bat?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
I
it-
like it. I mean, again, it was something that we did in the rendering, and I didn't get added to the plan, but I would gladly put it in.
Well, I'm just thinking of what's typical for the village, and I think it's a minor detail. I think it's okay. It's okay. But the window, I think it needs to be the center window needs to be minimized. Also, on the plans, you don't specify the brick or the windows. It just says brick to be confirmed by owner. I mean,
Yes,
we need specifics.
And I think when we handed them in, we hadn't confirmed it. I actually have a full sheet here. I can leave one with you that actually gives you the brick base, the
Okay.
Danish blend,
And the windows are all white.
the windows are white. Anderson 400 series.
Perfect.
And I have a sheet for all of you guys for that. I can give you that.
The side elevations are fine to me. I actually like the flare on the. It's a nice little detail that is represented throughout the village in different properties. So I think that's kind of nice. On the rear facade, the first floor windows seem to be excessive.
I would just let you think about looking at it as it's a very large room. It runs the whole length of the back, and it is covered by an outdoor porch, which I think absorbs a lot of that. You know, whenever you can put glass on a covered porch, and it's a nice deep covered porch, it appears large, but I understand the intent in trying to do the 4-panel where the 2 center panels slide apart.
Well, then maybe on the right side, or the right to the right of the doors,
the triple gang.
making those
Make it a
just
double?
double instead of a triple. Else, it gives the appearance that it's just a run-on of glass.
The nice thing is it's corner property and it's very open, and so the clients wanted to.
I totally get
Looking
it.
out the back, it's a beautiful piece of property, and across the street is landscaped well.
We just want to be consistent with what we do. That's my only comment.
Okay, Susan?
On the rear, I think once again, the second floor window in the center, I think that's a little excessive. I don't understand. I think that could be smaller unless.
Would you like to see the center panes just moved in a little, so it's?
I don't want to tell you what to do, but I do think, I think it unbalances the look, even.
Yeah, it's heavy.
And which was the problem in the front. So that would be my comment. I like the board and batten
I think it's fine.
in the front.
Yeah, it's like a nice different
It just
detail.
makes it look a little different, but it's respectful, I think. I think it's quite cute. I have trouble with the front door a little bit, but I'm not too sure why.
I have trouble with the front door because the porch it doesn't really protect the front door. I feel like the porch should be deeper.
Well, maybe it can't be.
And then those.
That's my struggle.
Yes.
Well, the house hasn't been built yet, so it could be anything.
Well-
What's the issue?
Well, I just have to
You have to change the.
move everything in the
You'd have
back.
to move the
Yeah.
house back 2 feet. Yeah,
I-
it's not really a.
That doesn't bother me.
That's
so
easy
much.
enough. Yes, I can.
No, it's not.
And the I don't know. It's sort of atypical to have this much brick at the base. I think
I think right now we're proposing.
because you got like 6 courses or 12 courses of brick here, and the door sits down below the brick line.
I could reduce the brick line could come down, give us less brick on the base.
Yeah, I feel like it feels like there must be a giant base. That's what it feels like.
I need to be 8 inches to the bottom of the joist plus the joist.
Right.
So I need.
But
to be,
I think that wide brick band is atypical to what we see.
Can I make it propose 18 or 20 inches?
Well, you can, and then we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
The board and batten, but I think you've got sort of belts and suspenders going on here. If you drive around the village up in the Pettimith, where you've got the board and batten and the corbels, I think it's sort of a one or the other situation because it's a lot of decoration up there. It would calm the house down a little bit. I agree with everyone that the window, and you've agreed, is on the first floor.
If the window were smaller, would you still think it was too, see, I think that's the problem. If you take
I'd
that
look at it,
away.
but I just feel like one is casual, one's formal, and they're sort of butting up against each other in sort of a weird way that's not just
Or maybe
typical.
the bracket's throwing it off too, the center
Yeah.
bracket, if that was removed with the
There's just a lot going
board and
on.
batten, that might
Yeah,
make it.
typically when we do that dental molding, you see over time, it's a lot of tongue and groove, which is almost the same as the board and bat, but, you know, typically a V-jointed 1x6 would be in there if it was a class, you know.
One of the things I think is that the verticality just makes the house look even taller, but because it's a tall house. But to me, what's currently represented in those gables between the center bracket, the boards, and of course, it's too much.
One accessory
So
too many.
if we could just calm that down a little bit.
So what were you
I-
proposing?
I'm not proposing. I'm just saying this is too much.
But then the board and batten is sitting out there. You can't,
Well,
how's he gonna work
fine.
that?
Susan, I'm telling him what I don't like, and he gets to come
Okay.
back and give me another option to consider. And then I agree that the window is too big over the front door. I agree with Susan, and that you're gonna consider bringing the window down over the second floor. I think John's suggestion that reducing to a double gang of windows will bring down a little bit of the light pollution to the backyard. And you're going to help us see a different version than a mid-century modern garage door.
Yeah. I'm gonna add 3 more panels where they're supposed to be.
And the same issue about brick, to me it feels especially odd on the garage. I think the flare is nice. I just think that wide brick band up to the flare is just atypical of what we normally see in harmonious, especially on that street. So those would be my comments.
Well,
Any comments from the public?
do I get to talk?
Yes.
Thank
go ahead.
you. It's been tough. So I don't like, the brick comes up pretty high, but given the weather lately, I'm not sure that's such a bad idea personally, in terms of excessive rain sitting on these lots. So I'm not saying no to that. I like the sort of, I do like the board and batten. I just think if the window were smaller, it would be a lot nicer. It would change how it looks, I really do. I think the bricks on the garage come up too high, I agree. I think maybe, but having the bricks come up on the house makes it look less tall, which might be good. And besides that, oh yeah, except the window, reducing the number of windows on one side and the back. So I basically agree, although it's a little Hansel and Gretel-y, but I kind of like, I don't think every house, I mean, it has the components of what we like or approve of or think fits into the neighborhood. So I kind of like, I like that it's a little diverse, but obviously I'm in the minority today.
Do we have any comments from the public? All right, you've heard the comments.
Thank you.
Do you think you can come back next meeting?
Yes.
You'll be ready by March 24th?
Absolutely.
Great. So I am going to motion to accept the applicant's request for 109 David White's Lane for adjournment to March 24th. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have that rendering?
Yes.
And you're going to email a copy to the building department?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to 70 Layton Avenue to amend existing permit for exterior changes.
I have the affidavits in there in order.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just, one? Just one. Oh.
Looks like we're going to 300 North Main.
Where? Well, remember this house? It was so charming and it's sort of.
All right, Sean Leonard, the architect for the application.
Okay.
I also have the property owner here, Anthony.
Hello. Okay.
So we are here before you for two changes that we're asking for. One is upon receiving the estimate for a wood roof, it was much higher than
It's considerable.
considerably higher. And so what we're asking is if we could change the material of the wood roof to an asphalt shingle roof, and that would be in a pewter gray color. So to have a gray, very similar to the neighbor, and that's why I have these two pictures here. This neighbor here is 2 doors down to the east of this property. And the other is the windows were 2/2, and we're asking to change them to 1/1.
Why?
For appearance purposes, we've maintained the essential look of the house that was there. When you look at what we're building new, you really won't be able to tell that it's a new home as compared to the home that was there, which if we had renovated would have looked the same. And from an aesthetic perspective, my wife feels as though, given the look of the house that we have, that the 1/1 would be more aesthetically pleasing. And I have to say that I usually trust her instinct on this, quite honestly. With respect to the cedar shakes for the roof, there's actually not a single house in the neighborhood that has a cedar roof.
It's
So
an expensive proposition, that's for
yeah,
sure.
we were hoping to do it, but it is very expensive.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make sense.
It's not going to get any cheaper.
No,
No.
for sure.
And so the two pictures that I presented, like I said, this is 2 houses to the east, and the other is 3 houses to the west,
Yeah.
on the same side of the street. All
Okay.
1/1.
So the two requests are the roof and the windows.
Correct.
Board members, we have correspondence on this from a neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the roof, I mean, it
That's
is what it
fine.
is.
Yeah.
Yep. However, I think changing the windows, I just think it makes the house very, very simple looking, and there's a nice design element to have, the panes in the window, and putting in the 1/1s really contemporizes the look of the house to me more than what currently is approved or what was there before, actually. And that's especially true on the rear elevation on the first level. I mean, it went from being, 4 window-looking doors to a wall of windows. That's
Yeah.
how it looks to me. So I actually prefer the existing. And I think it's nice to have a variation in the neighborhood when it comes to design elements, windows and such. I mean, I just think keep maintaining the current windows is more appropriate.
Could I just add that we had initially wanted to make the windows black. That was one of the...
That would never happen.
No.
Right. So we obviously backed off from that. So I just wanted to mention that.
Right, it's okay.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of choices you have to make. There's no doubt about it. I think changing the windows is, the roof, no problem. I think changing the windows completely changes the look of the house. And I don't think I think it's a charming little house, and I think it removes a lot of the charm.
Some of the personality, yeah.
Yeah, and also the size, to you know, it's not a big house, right? So to get the
It's a long house, and actually it breaks up the length to me when the mountains are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with-
Muntins, turns out.
Muntins are in.
Muntins. So I'm not in favor of the changes to the house,
To the
to the windows, but the roof, no problem.
I find myself in agreement. I find that it almost looks like a value decision, but I think from a design standpoint, having the muntins in the windows, it more typical of this style of house in the village, and actually gives the house a little more presence and is better looking, and especially for that neighborhood.
Would you consider 2/1?
It's better.
Well, the question would be, it's funny, I thought about that. I was like, the midpoint here would be 2/1. The question is what you do with the second story, where you have you moved some of these to casements? Because what you have drawn look like double hung in one, and then it looks like they've gone to casements in another.
I mean, 4/1 might be a better selection than 2/1.
Are they
you
still
know,
double
No,
hung?
yeah, they were.
I think they're little.
The smaller windows were always casements. What you see up top. Yeah. That was
The 2/2?
because those were in bathrooms, like they were over
Oh,
the toilet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just,
Board members, what would you think about that?
I'm trying to envision it.
I just think it would up beyond.
I think we'd have to see it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather see a 4/1 than 2/1.
Yeah. No,
That's
I
more-
think it's too broken
Or was
up.
it 9/1?
I think it's too little then.
Yeah.
I like the way it is.
Yeah.
That we approved originally.
I agree.
And to have 2/1, if I had white out, maybe I could. I think that makes it complicated, which is the one thing I think in a smaller house is not a good idea.
I think the muntins, the way the original house were added to the rhythm of the house, which is why we think it's so attractive. And I think when you take them away, it makes the house look longer and not as harmonious to the neighborhood as it's going to look with the windows the way they originally planned. And apparently, and that's why I guess one of the comments we heard from one of the neighbors as well.
What did the neighbors say? I haven't seen that.
Oh, I'm sorry. They came in
Just give it
apparently
to
today. I can give it to you. The original 2/2 divided light windows fit with the neighboring historic house. The 1/1 cheapens the aesthetic and conflicts with the neighborhood properties. I don't know about that I agree with the cheapens part, but I think what you're hearing is everyone thinks that 2/2s look better.
Could I just add, I know you've made your decision, but, thank you. But of course, this isn't the original house.
I understand. Well, here's
It's a
the
brand
thing.
new home.
I understand. Here's the thing. You guys, we actually went through a long time on this house. There was a lot of discussion about the standing seam, whether it was approved and not approved, and we sort of gave in here and there in certain things. And we arrived at a place where the board found that the house what you have for the neighborhood was appropriate, and therefore the house was approved. Now, after approving, you're coming back in a very short period of time. We understand the roof issue. I mean, we understand what roofs cost. And if the point is that for you that's difficult, and from an expense standpoint, would you like to reduce that expense? Get it, and I think you've heard us agree to that. Aesthetically, what you're hearing from the board is that the change that you've looked at in the house, which was not what was originally approved, we don't find harmonious and appropriate to this house. And you need 3 votes, a minimum of 3 votes to get approval to move forward. So I think right now, if we come down to we're fine with the change in the roof, if you leave the windows the way we are, I think then you can move forward. Otherwise, you have to come back until we have a full board. That's where we are.
Fair enough.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Are there comments from the public? Okay. So I'm going to a motion to approve the change to 70 Layton to change the roof from the original designated wood roof to the proposed architectural asphalt roof, and that the windows, as were originally approved, remain the same.
Well, you're denying the change to the windows.
Okay, I'm denying the change to the windows. Is that right for your motion?
And what color was the asphalt? Charcoal?
It's
pewter?
Pewter gray.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be more of a charcoal.
Oh.
No, it's
Be careful.
It ends up gray.
It says pewter gray.
It
Pewter
says
gray. It's gray.
Yeah.
It's not black.
Okay, because, you know, people don't know, and then the
Yeah,
guys
no.
are up there, and all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, what happened?
That's right.
That's not.
Is there a
Can I
second?
get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good luck,
Okay.
sir. We
Okay.
love
I
your
just wanna say I
house.
appreciate your time. I know you
We
do
like
this
your
on a
house.
volunteer
Of course.
basis. I'm on the zoning board in Rye, so I understand what it takes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So nice
That's
to
a
hear.
really thankless task, that zoning.
Sean, if you'll submit revised plans for the chair signature with those, yep, that's great.
Thank you.
Okay, so that moves us up to 2234 Wickapog Road. I see they're doing minutes remote tonight, so you're gonna have to be very intent on talking into the mic.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ciolio Architect. I'm the architect for 2234 Wicker Park.
Yeah, just bring it all the way in front of you like a radio
Oh,
announcer.
okay.
There
Okay.
you go.
I feel pretty interesting.
Joe Rogan style.
Oh,
Yeah.
The
Oh my God.
podcast.
Okay, so now I wish I have long arms.
Yeah.
No, too late.
So so Wickabog Road, the original house here has a porch that's like this white area here. And then we propose to extend it left to right, same depth. And then in the middle, we bump it out another 3 foot. So, so it might be easy to see here. So the original porch is only here. And we extend it left to right. And the depth of the existing porch is 4'6". And in the center, we're gonna do a 3 foot bump out.
Okay.
So, second floor, there is a little bit bay window here.
Okay.
So now we're gonna go to the front elevation. That's existing on the top and that's proposed on the bottom. So you can see we added the porch, which I think really create a little, what do you call it, a little bit more unity in the front so that it goes more like gambrel style roof, and they just connect the front. And then in the middle, we bump out another 3 feet. And right now, the columns, the placement of the column are not very strategic because you can see the center is actually smaller than the side. That really shouldn't be like that. The center should be, larger than the side. And then also they have the wall. There's actually a wood. I thought it was wood. It's actually a rock wall here.
Can you turn it?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Right here. So you can see the column sitting on the rock wall. And then we also don't like the octagonal windows and in the front. And we want to change it just to a regular square rectangular window. And the very top, we want to create a little bay window so that it gives a little bit character to the gable. Because the house was originally built, I think it's a spec house, so the current owner wants to put in something that makes her feel more personal, and that's, to me, is very nice to have that little sweep. And it's not dramatic. It's very subtle, so it's very pretty. And that's the front.
Sorry, what's not dramatic?
The bay window, it's very subtle.
Okay.
And then all the windows are right now 6/6 or whatever.
They're over 6.
That's,
They're
yeah.
6 over clear.
So we wanted to do 2/2. And all the other, and then the rear side, you can see on the top, you can see here. We want to square it off. It's a little hidden balcony. It's like a balcony, but has a wall here. So this part is a little wall. So if you stand here, this is actually serves like a railing. And we're just gonna square it off. And all the windows are, we are reducing the number of grills. So instead of very busy, lots of grills, will become less cut. And same thing with the side elevation. The other two sides, basically no changes at all, other than the window from 6/1 to 2/2. So major changes is the rear elevation where we square off this little hidden balcony, and then a front elevation where we give it a little bit more charm and personality. And then the next one is the garage. The garage has a rows and climbing things around it. So what we would like to do, we're gonna keep everything that's existing, and we just add brackets. And the brackets you can see on the side, you can see the profile of the brackets is just for rose bush or some other climbing plants. And I think it adds more charm to this, because right now these things really nothing is holding them, so they kind of wobbly. So I think the brackets and stuff will make it look very good. And it's colored basically the same, and wood shingles, wood roof. Let me see. Okay, so the windows and doors stay with white, and the shingles and single roof, single siding. All the doors and posts and railings will be white, and you can see the columns. There has a little shape to it, and shutters and front door will be black, and they're gonna paint the chimney white. Chimney right now is red brick here.
Okay.
What is that?
I'm just board members. What you've done with the front facade, I think, is very nice. I think it's much more appropriate for what we see in the village. The current decorative elements are just a little spec housey, like you said. So I don't have an issue with that. However, I don't think painting the chimney is a good idea. I think that's not very Southampton-y. Yeah, it's not very usual. Plus, I think it just
it would break it up some, wouldn't it, to have the red brick? I think it would be good.
Yeah, I think the red brick should stay. The rest of the house, I'm fine with, actually. In the garage, I think is a great idea to put that trellis to really embellish the growth overhead. So I think it's fine.
Me
Except
too.
for the red brick or the white.
I agree. A big giant white chimney, if you can have a brick one, is better, I think. And I think you've made substantial improvements to the look of it to make it more personal, as you say.
Yeah.
How about you?
All right, I'm not a fan of the painted chimney.
Okay.
My question, are these shutters operable?
I can make the front one operable.
Yeah, because it's not, wouldn't keep me from voting for it. But it's the one that this is a situation where some of the shutters are sort of on the house, but they actually don't function, and they're not big enough to function. There's just sort of a lack of design. The reason the shutters are there to go over windows, so where you have like these 1-foot shutters next to big sliding doors, I just feel like it's design dishonest because they can't actually close. It wouldn't make me not vote for the house.
Maybe they're
but-
folding.
You
Are those
can
folding
fold them.
shutters?
Yeah,
The
do they fold all the way-
homeowners
yeah, but
are
they're gonna
from
fold
the
all way across
south.
the front?
Oh, they're for,
but
okay.
they're
She's
not
right,
op-
the south,
But
she
they're
just
not
like,
operable, right?
She wants
She-
palm trees and palmettos, right?
She-
She's older.
yeah, we can probably make it folded.
Yeah, I
so
think
it-
shutters on windows where shutters are operable,
Mm.
or
But it-
Or
or
appear to be
visually
operable.
appear that they could be operable is
It
one
does
thing. It's
break
this
up the
little
line,
squinting.
though.
Yeah, it's a nice detail element.
Yeah,
So
on this,
I know
but
it's
she
a neat thing.
can't, you know.
I said I would not vote for it that way.
Okay.
It's just a design honesty.
Okay,
thing.
okay.
And the rest of it I think is fine. My personal feeling is when you put the bay window in the front and you put the way the roof slopes out over the bay window is great. And you had that same detail on the line on the two gangs of windows that are either side, but you took it away and put a pediment over there that to me, it's not my favorite, but I would not vote for it. So I think that was a little heavy, but any comments from the public?
Okay.
Okay, so motion to approve
Some LLC.
234 Wickerhog Road, based on plans presented, or plans dated
Oh,
1/30/25. Is there a second?
Second.
Except the chimney, right?
Excluding the painting of the chimney, leaving the
Oh,
chimney
yeah.
unpainted. Is there a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much.
Next up, 98 Burnett Street. This one will take forever.
Oh, to put a garage in the same place?
Poor thing, I did the first and last application.
Hasn't
All
this,
right.
I feel like I've done this a few times now.
She loves
Am
spending
I
time
wrong?
with us.
I don't know.
Do you have a history of it?
Yeah. All right.
Maybe it's my specialty, I don't know.
What?
Maybe
88
have the
Burnett Street?
affidavits.
Yeah. One of
And
them
they're
with
in
the
order.
little, there was a hot tub in the ground. Is this the same?
Oh,
Yeah.
that was down the street, yeah. Lisa Zaloga, I am the architect for Stephanie Smith. And we are here to talk about knocking down an existing one-story flat roof garage on a little property on Burnett Street. And just so the board's aware, I went to the zoning board of appeals and they approved my increase in pyramid law for the pitched roof.
24 square feet or something?
Well,
Yeah.
otherwise it was like a white brick, white
Yeah.
cement, right?
Yeah,
Brick?
yeah,
Like a
yeah.
real
It's
throwback.
in some serious
Yeah.
disrepair. So we would like to put a pitched roof on it. The materials will match the existing house, and I apologize, the roof is called out on your drawings as asphalt shingles to match the existing house. And Stephanie has told me that she would like to put wood shingles on both.
Great.
So, it will actually have red cedar wood shingles on it as opposed, and I can fix that, for your drawings.
And there's no landmark issue here with the current garage.
You know, there's more than one thing like that in there. It was, I don't know what they were doing years ago. They put
That's all-
those,
yeah, the
like,
garage.
it was like the cars for, I don't know what, for their workers? They're tiny houses. It doesn't make any
Horses.
sense.
Horses.
Horses. No, it's too low for a horse.
Kid.
Listen.
All right.
Do you have any questions?
All right, I got nothing. I think it's fine. How's that?
John?
I agree.
I agree. So motion to approve the plans for a garage
No,
rebuild
public? Did we do public?
for 98 Burnett Street from plans dated, for submission dated January 30, 2025. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just so you know, the neighbor wrote a letter in support, so.
It is in the file. All right, so that brings us to new matters. First one is Margaret Kirkpatrick of 451 First Neck Avenue.
Oh. Driveway.
Yep, these are driveway gates.
We have the affidavits.
And they're in
do?
order?
They're in order.
You had told me you had all of them were in.
I
order.
do.
You just want me to ask you every,
myself.
I know you want me to ask you every time for the record, and I
Okay.
fail you.
Thank
ya.
you.
Have a good
I
night.
need my time in the spotlight.
You can have mine. All right.
Good night, everybody. My name is Ramon, and I'm representing 455 First Neck Lane. In order to erect driveway gate Mm. Okay, the material we asking for ASAP. The highest point is 7 feet tall and 15 feet 6 inches wide and 14 inches column.
Can you sit, Ramon, and speak into the microphone?
Sure.
It's hard to
There you
pick
go.
up.
Did you just say what you said before, and then we can just move right ahead?
AZAC, 7 feet tall, 15 feet 6 inches wide.
Color white.
Yes.
Where are the,
Everything
where,
white.
where are the where are the
Controls.
controls?
We always say in the column. We always put on the column.
Okay. No
Good.
gooseneck. Okay.
And this is, yeah, it's 21 feet from the street.
Yes.
And your lot is more than 40,000 square feet?
For sure.
By a lot.
For sure.
And transparency looks good. So.
Any comments from the public? Well, let me start with you guys.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Okay, any comments from the public? Okay, motion to accept the application for...
For written decision.
Move to written
No,
decision, the
Joseph.
application for Gates for 451 First Neck Lane. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is an application, right? It's already for permit.
It's, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
You're
you.
good to go, sir. We
Thank you.
approved it.
I hear application.
Oh, that's what we call it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, good to see
Have a
you.
very nice-
Okay,
Well,
that
they-
brings us to new matters, non-historic driveway
They don't
gates
have
at
a building
143
permit.
Cooper's Farm Road.
And I bring my gates.
Cooper's Farm Road. I know exactly what.
Is this, you know what, is this Robert? Is this Roy? Who's the applicant?
Oh, this is,
Robert
Stevenson.
L.
Yeah.
Stevenson.
He's my ex.
I have affidavits.
How's
They're in order.
about that?
Well, if you feel you need to recuse yourself.
No, I don't.
Okay.
But I'm telling you just so you know.
Okay. I wondered when I saw the address.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'll run through this real quick so we can all go home.
Thank you.
Yep. Let's see.
You have the most comprehensive, collection of gates in the village I've ever seen.
Really? I overkilled it. I apologize.
No, it's a good
I haven't
thing.
done gates in Southampton Village.
This is a keeper.
Okay. All right. So I'll start. Matt Ivan, South Fork Environmental, for the applicant Robert Stevenson, and I'll quickly go through the show here. So we're proposing two sets of driveway gates along the westerly side yard or westerly front yard property boundary along Cooper's Farm Road. You got north and south gates. Both sets of gates are going to be 15 feet wide from hinge to hinge. They're going to measure 4.5 feet in height. Transparency is going to maintain the 40% as required. They're going to be constructed of mahogany, painted white. No PVC or vinyl products to be used. Each set of gates is going to be located a minimum of 18 feet from the edge of the street. And both sets of gates are going to be non-powered.
Oh.
That's about it.
So that thing that looks like a gooseneck in the drawing, what's
Yeah, that one got away from me. I got to take that out.
And it's also in your rendering.
Oh, you know what? What date is it in the rendering? Let me just make sure, because I did drop off ones excluding the goosenecks.
How are you calculating your 40%?
Just good old math, arithmetic.
I don't see how it's possible, though.
I don't either.
Well, you basically I'm taking the area of the overall
Well,
face of the gates, and then I know what size members we're using across.
And what size members are they?
Hmm.
What size are those members?
Um,
Are there 6 with the 2-inch gap, or is there?
Yeah, I don't have that, but dimensions of all right. So this is what I came up with. Base area of gates was 67.5 square feet, and then I multiplied that by 0.4. Open space within base area of gates became 27 square feet. I mean, if you guys want more information in terms of the openings,
I'm going to want more. I think the design of the gate is fine.
Yeah.
Love the fact that there's no opening, love the fact that they're mechanical,
Okay.
not mechanical. Visually to me, this does not look like it's 40% transparent, because what's the width of your board?
God, offhand, I don't know. I did
Is
these quite a while
Are they
ago.
like 6 and 2?
Could be, yeah. I'll give you
6
that
and 2 would not
information.
be- See, 6 and 2 wouldn't be 40%.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Then your loss of light from the crossboards.
Yeah.
I think the crossboards need to be narrower with more light coming between them to hit the 40%.
All right. So what I'll do is I'll update these plans. I'll demonstrate. I'll depict exactly the size of these, the pieces, and I'll narrow down the crossboards. For
Okay. And then when you resubmit, you'll just take the goosenecks off there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might be looking. I'm not sure. Do you have a date on that plan?
Probably.
Because I did update it when I submitted it to take the goosenecks off. I have January 30th, 2025.
I have October 1st,
I have
2024.
Well, you know what? I got to update them anyway, so
Okay.
Sorry.
you'll have the correct form.
And those are black hinges on the
Yes.
The strap hinges? Okay.
All right.
Alrighty, if you'll update that and submit, and next week, if you just want to come in by Zoom, you do not have to come all the
Next week or 2 weeks?
2 weeks from now.
Okay.
But you can just come in by Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
All
motion.
right. I appreciate
I'm
it.
sure there's no comments from the public. Okay. Motion to accept the applicant's request for an adjournment for
24th.
till September 24th.
No.
March 24th.
March 24th. I'm tired.
Come on, baby.
We all are.
For 143 Coopersfield Road. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I appreciate it.
Thank
Have
you,
a
my
good night.
friends.
Sorry you were the last person.
Okay,
Oh, well.
A motion to
Whatever.
adjourn
Take
the
care.
March 10th meeting of the Southampton Village Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we're out.